Welcome back to the final FPL deadline stream of the season, this time out of Gameweek 38, and there could be a reaction stream later tonight if you want to see it, straight after all the games have concluded. They do take place at the same time, and we do have a slightly awkward time, so to speak, for the actual deadline, 2:30 PM in the UK. I haven't made any single transfer so far, but I've got two available at my disposal for free. It's been a long season, trust me, but I am looking to take maybe even a -4 hit, as discussed in my team selection video yesterday. All the graphics from my team selection made it quite clear in that podcast, and throughout the week in the best team video as well. You've got a good idea of the players I'm looking to go towards in every single position, and it all depends on any team leaks or just news in general that we get over the next couple of hours. So I'll answer all your questions as always and go through your comments and see what we can come up with to end this season as strongly as possible. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream for both FPL and UCL Fantasy. I will make some videos for that fantasy format very soon throughout the week, and next Saturday, of course, will be the deadline stream for match day 17 there as well. That will conclude this season's content per se, and if you want to see Club World Cup fantasy content, then let me know in the live chat, and also by showing the love to the video, sharing, liking, and all that good stuff. So the GOAT says Eze and Kivior, or Elanga and White. Now, Eze's been brilliant recently, and I wouldn't put it past him to score or assist against Liverpool, but I think this week, I do prefer Elanga slightly more than Eze. That is purely a fixtures play there. It does make me a bit uncomfortable because, like I said, Eze's been in brilliant form, but I'm going to say Elanga and White. Easy says, crazy FPL season. Will you make some FIFA Club World Cup fantasy content, videos or live streams, or wait until the next FPL season? So that remains to be seen at the moment. I am open to making content. June is going to be a bit of a busy month for me, but if people want to see it, then I'll make content for it and get the kind of key bits out there. Team selections, maybe, you know, the best kind of team for every single match day, and also the deadline streams. But yeah, that all depends, I think, on the reception and the demand for that content. Otherwise, I'll take a little break where I'll still be kind of laying the foundations for next season for UCL Fantasy and FPL. So either way, I'll be doing something, but of course, with Club World Cup Fantasy, it will be a little bit more hectic. Fernandez says, hi Dylan, should I sell Wood for a Vanelson or Welbeck for a -4? And thank you for helping us as always. Cheers. I appreciate the kind words. If I were to recommend a transfer, it would be a Vanelson, but because it's a -4 hit, and I think Chris Wood is solid this week, I'd probably keep him and not take the hit. But if you really want to take that punt, I get that, and it would be a Vanelson. So that's kind of the way I'd rank it. Keep Chris Wood as #1, and buying a Vanelson for a -4 hit is second in terms of the best things to do in your situation. Easy says Bowen, Evanelson, or Wissa as captain. So they're all really high in my captaincy list, especially the first two. Bowen is my favourite. Cylindrus says, hey Dylan, currently I've got 1 free transfer and 1.5 million in the bank, and I need to protect my 20-point lead over my mini-league rival. Currently, I've got to start 2 of Milenkovic, Munoz, Mikalenko in my defence and in the attack. I've got to start 2 of Mateta, Murphy, KDB. Not sure if he starts or not. My plan is to sell 2 of Saliba, Murphy, Mateta, KDB if he doesn't start for a -4, and to who as a replacement, or just sell one of them and don't take it. My rival below me has Bowen, Semenyo, Kivior, Isak, Burn, which I'm kind of afraid he might overtake me. I'm not going to lie, that's a lot of things, so I'll answer it to the best of my ability, but since we've got a lot of questions to go through as well, yeah, I might not be able to give the best answer possible. So in terms of your first question, start 2 defenders, I would leave Munoz out. I think Milenkovic is the best of the lot, and I'll be honest, I don't think any of them keep a clean sheet, but Forest have the best chance. So I'd definitely start Milenkovic, and I'd probably start Mikalenko over Munoz. With your other question of the 2 attackers, I would start Murphy and KDB, but since you're planning to sell 2 of them anyway, and you've got 1 free transfer, you want to take a -4 hit, or you're open to doing it, I think I would sell Saliba and KDB, and you could potentially go for a 3-5-2 formation and bolster your defensive line, which might look a little bit weaker this week. Now, when you're also factoring -4 hits, I always recommend, you know, midfielder and forward transfers, especially in a week like this, which tends to be high scoring in Gameweek 38, and you want to go for the bigger plays with the high ceiling. You're not going to get that too often with the defenders, but I think in your situation, I'd recommend selling Saliba and KDB. and then you can go to either Bowen or Bukayo Saka. I'm not sure if you have one of them already, and if you do, then I just buy the other one and sort that out from that perspective. But there is also the possibility that Saka's benched, and maybe we get the information before the deadline, maybe we don't. I personally think he will start, and he's firmly on radar for me personally, but those are the transfers I'd recommend. In the defensive line, you can replace Saliba like for like with another Arsenal defender like Kivior, Calafiori or White, or perhaps you just go to Milos Kerkez, maybe even Fabian Schär, Trippier to cover Newcastle defensively. So Barrow says Evanilson or vice captain. It would be Evanilson, and I'll show my captaincy list very soon. Cyril says, hey Dylan, thoughts on Bowen? As a differential captain, I'm not sure he's a differential captain, to be honest. His ownership is rising. It's currently 17%, I believe, or close to it. I think by the deadline, he'll be at around 20%, and a lot of people will captain him, especially those on Twitter and YouTube and those engaged managers there. I think Bowen is right up there. He's in my top 3 captaincy options, but I don't think he's a differential personally. Who to start between Rodgers and Cunha? I would prefer Cunha, and that's what I'm currently going for at the moment, but the minutes are a big concern. It will be his final game in a Wolves shirt, so you're kind of hoping he gets to start and he can get a decent return. He actually delivered 9 points in the reverse fixture against Brentford. Cyril says, I want to transfer out Munoz, but not sure whether I should get Kivior or Kerkez. In my team selection, I discussed both of them, and my preference at that point, up until yesterday, was Milos Kerkez. I think Arsenal have a better chance of a clean sheet, but Kerkez has more avenues to points for the assists, the odd goal that he can score, and whilst Kivior has scored in the last 2 months, I think it was against Crystal Palace, he's not going to offer that consistency or reliability from an attacking perspective, which I think Kerkez does provide, and he's also very good for bonus points as well. I think Kivior's also decent in that regard, but I think Kerkez is more exciting to own for Gameweek 38. The full 11 would be Raya, Gavardi or Livramento, one of Kivior or Kerkez, Salah, Bowen captain, Saka, Mbumo, Cunha, Rodgers, Vissa, Watkins. I like the starting 11. Yeah, so from your perspective, if I can find your question again since the chat just bugged out. You've already got Raya, so if you want to balance things out a little bit, I think Kerkez is absolutely fine. Unless you're that bullish on an Arsenal clean sheet, in that case, you know, Kivior's fine, but I think in your situation, I'd rather go for Kerkez. That's my current feeling. Ahmed says, I activate my bench boost. My team is Sells, Pickford, 8 Nuri, Cucurella, Munoz, Kerkez, Mikalenko, Salah, Bowen, Elanga, Mbumo, Rodgers, Isak, Cunha, Vissa, 2 free transfers. So I'm going to identify the so-called weak links in your team. So, I mean, Pickford, yeah, I'm not a big fan of him this week against Newcastle away, but I think having him is fine. I'd rather sell Mikalenko instead. So what you could do here is buy an Arsenal defender. So one of White, Calafiori, or Kivior, depending on what budget you have. I'd also be inclined to sell Munoz. I know he's been a good FPL asset in the second half of the season, but facing Liverpool away, I just don't think he's going to score or assist. I mean, maybe he does, to be fair, but I don't think he keeps a clean sheet. I'm just not that bullish on him, and that's why he's on my bench right now. So those two are weak links. The midfield is fine. You could possibly offload Cunha to Evanilson, and in the midfield, it's really just an upgrade. It's not because your midfielders are bad, but I think buying an Arsenal attacker like Marino, Martinelli, Trossard, I think one of them could be benched, so be very careful about that. And ideally, it'd be Bukayo Saka, but I'm not sure what your budget is looking like. I think that would look very solid. But in your defensive line, I'll be honest, I don't see many clean sheets amongst all teams this week, and from your defence, I'm not really bullish on most of them, except Kerkez, who's very solid on paper. But yeah, I think Evanilson up front, Saka in the midfield, and who would you replace? Probably one of Rodgers or Elanga. And I think Mikalenko, Cucurella and Munoz are weak links there. So getting rid of maybe 1, 2 of them, taking a -4, -8 on the bench boost, that could look really good. So let me know your thoughts there, Ahmed. Ready for the leaks? We'll see, Gary. We could get the odd leak or two, but maybe not as many as we would expect. Afnan says, sell one of O'Brien, Gibbs White, or Sarr. Really depends on the context. For example, if you could sell Sarr to Bowen, I'd just recommend doing that. But yeah, I'd keep Gibbs White and sell one of the other two. But it's all team dependent. Alex says Timber and Isak to Kivior and Watkins. I'm not so sure about that. Now, if Isak is out, then fair enough, but Watkins has never scored against Man United in the Premier League. He's got, what, 1 goal and that was in the Carabao Cup against United. In the Premier League, 0 goals in 9 games. Pretty poor record, actually. And I think United could get a result against Aston Villa. Their record is very solid against that opponent. Barbary says, hello Dylan, good to see you. Juan says, I have KDB, Silva and Marmoush. Who should I captain? De Bruyne is my favourite of the lot. It's his last game in a Man City shirt. I'd probably recommend selling Bernardo Silva despite his return recently and going to an Arsenal attacker or Jarrod Bowen. Terry says, Luis Diaz, Odegaard, Trossard, Mitoma, who should I get? Trossard is my favourite on paper, but it all depends on if he starts or not. And I'll be honest, that's one of my slight concerns here, because I think Martinelli will start on the left and Merino's back from suspension, so we could see the Spaniards start up front and Trossard as an impact sub. So it's a risk, I think. High risk, high reward. It's a punt. If it goes your way and he starts, I think he's got a great chance of returning, but there is that possibility of getting that 1 point off the bench, which would be very difficult to stomach. I already have Welbeck, so I don't want to double up. Or should I sell Welbeck to Havertz or Gakpo? A bit similar with the Havertz situation, and even to some extent Gakpo. There's no guarantee those players will start. I think you could even say that about Luis Diaz, but not to the same extent. But my favourite punts would be Trossard. And Odegaard's a bit more likely to start, so that could work. I just don't think he's scored enough this season, and he's had a pretty poor campaign by his standards. I think he'll do much better next year, but yeah, I think Martin Odegaard, I'm not against that to be honest, but I think Trossard will be my preference if he starts. Is Strand Larsen available or not? I'll talk about injury updates very soon, but Vitor Pereira did talk about this yesterday, so I'll get his exact quotes up very soon. Hey Dylan, Cunha starts. If not, I'm going to sell him to Vanelson. I can't really guarantee you either way. Because it's his last game, my guess is yeah, but I can't really give you any certainty. Jamie says, hello Dylan, what do you think about Bruno Fernandes? Maybe last game at Old Trafford, maybe GA. He had a very good stint a few months ago. He was scoring or assisting in virtually every single game. That has kind of died down a little bit. And Man United have failed to score in the last 2 games. I think they will score and possibly even get a result against Aston Villa, which I said a few minutes ago, because they've got a very solid record against them. Yeah, I think Bruno Fernandes is a good one. Not my favourite midfielder this week. He's not part of my best team for Gameweek 38, but I think that's an overlooked option who can do really well in potentially his final game in a Man United shirt. Sell Cunha to Marmoush. Not so sure about that, Lucy. I mean, he scored a brilliant goal the other day against Bournemouth, a contender for goal of the season, but I'm just not quite sure about buying Marmoush now. My favourite forwards are Isak if he's fit, and Evanilson. The rest is up in the air. If I had to pick a third option, it's probably Visser, considering his form. But yeah, Marmoush is up there, top 5 or 6. You could even say Erling Haaland, but his form has been pretty poor as well. There is a leak that Grealish for City and Mitoma for Brighton don't start. Let me know where you got that from, but I appreciate the update. Yeah, Mitoma didn't start the last game either, and Joao Pedro isn't going to be in the squad. Driga says, hi Dylan, on the bench boost thinking of Nico Williams to Wan-Bissaka and O'Brien to White. Others on the bench would be Sells and Wood. Ooh. Oh yeah, you're on the bench boost. Okay, fair enough. I'm not sure about Wan-Bissaka. I think Ipswich Town will score. I've actually gone for a high scoring game there, so I'm against that. I like the O'Brien to White move. There's no guarantee Arsenal keep a clean sheet. They've got a poor record at St Mary's recently, but I've actually gone for an Arsenal win, a clean sheet, and quite comfortable at that. Yeah, it's solid overall. I'm just not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. I'd rather buy Kirkes instead if you have the funds, or Dean Howson in his last Bournemouth game. John K, 88. I don't know why I said it like that. Hey Dylan, thoughts on Cunha? Few sources suggest he may not start. Oh yeah, so if a reliable source indicates he's not starting, I'm very happy to sell him to Evanilson. Now that does change things slightly because my ideal scenario is to buy Bowen and Saka. I probably won't be able to do that without taking a -8 hit. I just don't think Cunha to Evanilson really cuts it from a budget perspective. But yeah, if Cunha doesn't start, I'd very happily sell him to Evanilson. Otherwise, if the rumours or the leaks suggest that he does start, I think keeping him isn't a bad idea. So it really just depends on that information. At the moment, his minutes are just far from secure. Trenix says Munoz or Agbadu out for Kivior on bench boost. I don't think either keep a clean sheet, but Wolves have a better chance than Crystal Palace. Munoz, on the other hand, has more chance of getting goals or assists, despite Agbadu scoring last week. I would probably sell Munoz instead. That's the way I'd go about it. Now, our predictions for both games are, I think, 2-2 for the Brentford Wolves game. And for Liverpool Palace, I've gone for 2-1 Liverpool. Maybe I've gone a little bit low there from the Liverpool perspective. Hermoso says, hey Dylan, should I sell Marmoush? And should I take a hit to sell KDB or start one of Elanga or Eze instead? We're going to miss you. Well, first time I heard that in my life. I'm joking. Not really. Yeah, so Elanga or Eze. The problem is Eze, great form, but the fixture is just not really there. I know Liverpool have been quite vulnerable defensively, but yeah, I'm not really fancying Eze or any Palace attacker or player this week, to be honest. I think selling KDB to one of Saka or Bowen, even for a hit, is worth it. I'd probably keep Marmoush as well, to be fair. I just don't think he's really a purchase per se. Captain Mbeumo, Watkins or Salah. Salah is highest in my Captaincy ranking, but his form is terrible. Let's not sugarcoat it. 1 goal since blank Gameweek 29. But I'm not really a big fan of Watkins this week. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but yeah, poor record against United. I also think the Red Devils will get a result. Mbeumo, Salah, it's quite close, but Salah is higher. Ivanosen to Wood or Isak. I'm guessing you're buying Ivanosen and selling one of the other two. Well, if Isak is touted to start, then I'd sell Chris Wood. Otherwise, if Isak is still a doubt or a source says he's going to be benched or he's out, then I think that pretty much answers your question. But I think a lot depends on the team news. If we don't get any, I'd probably chance on selling Chris Wood instead. It is risky though. Good luck for the game week, says Anton Villa, 23. Eze and Isak out for Matoma and Wilson -4 if Isak is ruled out. I would say no. Not entirely sure about Matoma. It's a good fixture on paper against Tottenham, but I'm not even sure if he starts. And someone earlier, I think it was Punjabi, who said maybe he doesn't. So, who to pick from the Man City midfield? My favourite remains Kevin De Bruyne, but he has been very disappointing. That open goal miss was pretty poor. Thank you, Punjabi. I'll have a look right now. Let's see if I can check it out. So if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, share the stream as well. It'd be greatly appreciated. Is this bugging out? Oh, okay. It hasn't copied the link properly. Okay, that's a bit annoying. Gonna have to check it from here. All right. Okay, so he has some small minor issues. This is about Matoma. Not big issues, otherwise he can't play. But overall, he is not in his highest level regarding physicality, regarding readiness for the games. We really have to manage him, but we know he has unbelievable individual qualities, so it's always good to have him in the squad and to bring him on as a sub. Yeah, that quote does suggest that Matoma will not start. And with Grealish as well, and that's by Mike McGrath. Jack Grealish is not in the Man City squad against Fulham. Okay. So yeah, that could be the last hurrah for Jack Grealish. He may have played his last few minutes for Man City already. Oh no. Yeah. Well, we're getting some like different reports about Isak, but I'm not sure those sources are reliable. But I will be confirming them once we get anything and maybe showing some of them on screen. Well, we're saying another one who's out of form is Cole Palmer. Now, Nottingham Forest haven't been great recently, so it wouldn't completely surprise me if Palmer did something, but I've been backing Palmer so often and he's just basically failed on most occasions. The only time he has returned recently was against Liverpool, scoring from the penalty spot. He's just not had a great second half of the season. He's been very poor, in fact, from a goals and assist perspective. But yeah, I think maybe he's a bit underrated this week, but the form is certainly a contributing factor. Sell Salah to some big names. I think Salah will score against Palace. Now, fair enough, I said that against Brighton and Arsenal, and he flopped on both occasions. But yeah, I think Salah will return. Surely he does. Final game of the season. He's still got a chance of breaking Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne's assist record, but it does look quite slim right now. Moore says, hi Dylan, best of luck this week. Thank you for all the great advice over this season. Very kind of you, and I appreciate the kind words. Hopefully you end the season very strongly, and also enjoy your summer. Isak, keep or sell? At the moment, I would say keep. A lot depends on the team news. I'm not really sure who is saying what, but I'm just, yeah, on Twitter, it's basically, oh, this guy said this guy said that, and I'm not really getting the original sources, so I can't really judge it for myself. But, yeah, I'm guessing the source in question, let me actually double check before I slander someone unnecessarily. Can I find his name? What is it, X account? No, I can't, I think. Well, maybe I'll find it later. But if you do see any Isak news, let me know, and we can go through the source and verify it. Yeah, I don't know, it just seems a little bit dodgy at the moment. John says, thanks for the great content over the season. Still have Palmer, keep as a differential, or move to Saka or Martinelli. My preference is to sell to Saka. Now, keeping Palmer's not a bad idea, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather buy Saka. Start Murphy or Rodgers? Murphy. MSB10 says double Arsenal defence or Areola. Double Arsenal defence this week. Josh says, I am 42 points behind in my mini league and have one transfer. Please send advice. Raya, Areola, Konsa, Milenkovic, Munoz, Kivior, Gvardiol, Rodgers, Eze, Mbumo, Salas, Savio, Beto. Yeah, Beto to Evanison really stands out. That is right of you to point out. I think that's the best transfer you could make this week. 42 points is a really big gap for one game week. That requires a massive swing. But hopefully you can claw the deficit and somehow make it work. I think Evanison could be one such transfer and maybe taking a hit and going ultra aggressive. I know it puts you back to 46 points behind, but that also could really help you in certain aspects. But in terms of that possible hit, that could be worthwhile. Maybe Eze to Bowen, I think could be a shout. So Eze to Bowen and Better to Evanison. Al Said says, I'm bench boosting. I want to captain someone differential. Who do you suggest? Well, Salah's not my favourite captain this week. He's in my top 5. And I'll show the captaincy list and all the graphics very soon, since I'm getting a lot of these kind of similar questions here. Differential captain. I'm not even sure if he's a differential, but I think an Arsenal attacker, like Saka, dare I say, could be somewhat differential, but it might be similar to Bowen, where the effective ownership is over 100%, and the overall ownership is 17 to 20%. So they would maybe stick out a little bit, but I'm not sure if I could really class them as differential. Otherwise, I think Evanison would stand out as a proper differential, I think, with the armband. Thank you, Europa1. Hi, mate. Love the channel this season. Evanison captain. He's one of my favourite differential captains, and he's in my top 5 as well. Saka or Bowen captain. I've actually got Saka ranked higher. So what I'm going to do now is go straight to the graphics here, going through predictions, the highlighted 1 week punt. Of course, that's all we have left now, Game Week 38. So I've gone for Bournemouth 3, Leicester 1, Fulham 1, Man City 2, Ipswich Town 2, West Ham 3, Liverpool 2, Crystal Palace 1, Man United 1, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 2, Everton 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Chelsea 1, Southampton 0, Arsenal 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Brighton 1, and Wolves 2, Brentford 2. So those are my predictions for Game Week 38. So that gives you a bit of insight in terms of which teams I think keep a clean sheet. Only Arsenal and Newcastle, by the way. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the team I'm looking to target this week is Leicester, who will be without Jamie Vardy, of course, which was covered last week. And the highlighted player and my favourite Bournemouth asset for Game Week 38 is Evanison. The blue circles indicate the chances conceded by Leicester this season, and the heat map is Evanison's touches in this Premier League campaign. So I think he's going to have a very solid performance, and he will have chances against Leicester. It's all about whether he takes them today, and that will obviously be a great punt for the final game week of this season. Now let's talk about the clean sheet odds and over 2 goals before moving on to the top 10 captaincy options. So Newcastle are top with a 47% chance of keeping a clean sheet. But in terms of scoring over 2 goals, Arsenal and Liverpool are joint top with 55%. We've got Bournemouth in second, and this is ranked in terms of clean sheet odds. Arsenal are third, Liverpool fourth, Man City fifth, and Aston Villa are sixth. Their last win against Man United at Old Trafford was back in 2009. And in last place, we've got Crystal Palace with a 9% chance of keeping a clean sheet and 14% of scoring over 2 goals. So next up is the top 10 captaincy list, the final one for this season. and let me know if you disagree or if you have any other thoughts. There might be a big name missing. But I've actually got Saka in top spot at the moment, and that's a slight change from my team selection where I discussed the possibility of buying both of them in and captaining Bowen instead. I think that's a very tricky one, and a lot depends on any team news or leaks that we get before the deadline. Saka is more of a doubt to start than Bowen, I think, but if he does start, I think the ceiling is higher, and he delivered 16 points against Southampton in the previous fixture. Salah is third in my captaincy list despite some pretty terrible performances recently. Isak is fourth, Ivanoson fifth, Mbumo is sixth, Haaland seventh, Marino and Martinelli are in 8th and 9th, and De Bruyne is in 10th, but you could easily say Visser should be above De Bruyne. I completely get that. That's just my current top 10 captaincy list at the moment, and there could be some differentials like Kluivert. Also, Trossard, I think, would be a great option. If he starts, I think he gets into this top 10 list over Kevin De Bruyne. That would be my kind of way of thinking about it. But conversely, one of Marino or Martinelli could drop out as a result anyway, because they wouldn't start the game if Trossard is in that lineup. So let's now move on to my team selection graphics from yesterday, and I'm not going to provide commentary through it because I did it in that podcast, but what you're going to see is my review of Gameweek 37 to see how I got on. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great Gameweek for me, and basically since Gameweek 34, it's been downhill ever since I played the free hit, which was fairly solid at the time. I just haven't been able to pick on from that and finish the season extremely strong, but there you go. That's how FPL can be sometimes. There have been some changes to the prices, and that's why my squad value is now 103.7 million, and I've also got 0.1 million in the bank, but there have been several price decreases and changes overnight. So Raya has gone up to 5.6 million. Also, if you look at the price falls, Saliba's one of them to 6.4, Cunha's down to 7 million, and De Bruyne has gone down to 9.5 million as well. But looking ahead to my transfer plans, and I won't be making all of these moves at the same time, Saliba to Kiwior is on the cards, especially as a way of funding other moves in the midfield and forward line, but I could also buy another defender and go for Milos Kerkez instead, since I have David Raya in goal already. So that's something else I'm kind of thinking about. But in the midfield, that is going to be the kind of primary focus. So Kevin De Bruyne could be sold to one of Saka or, who is second place in my captaincy ranking, Jarrod Bowen. One of those two will likely come in. And like I mentioned multiple times this week, in an ideal world, I get both of them. The same goes for Ivanoson, and I think selling Isak would be primarily because he is benched or left out of the squad. However, Cunha is a big minutes risk, and I think if I was building a best team for this week and Isak was available, I'd have Isak, Ivanoson and Visser, and that's the perfect front three on paper. But that might not be the case based on Isak's starting berth and also Cunha, any news we get about him. But we might even get a situation where Isak's on the bench and so is Cunha. If that's the case, I've got some big decisions to make, and then I think from that perspective, I still sell Isak and get the funds necessary to buy Bowen and Saka in the midfield for a -4 hit. So what you're going to see next up is my most likely final team for Gameweek 38, but that isn't set in stone because I think a lot could definitely change. And I did talk about alternative transfers towards the end of my team selection video with that -4 hit for Bowen, Saka and Ivanoson at the same time. But I could buy Kerkez or Kiwior in that defensive line to replace Saliba, and that allows me to buy Jarrod Bowen in the midfield, and he would replace, in this case, it would be replacing Kevin De Bruyne, actually. So, to be honest, I would still have a lot of money in the bank after making these two transfers, and that would maybe give me an incentive to try to find a way to get Saka as well, but that'd probably require a -8 hit from this perspective. Isak is the biggest cash cow, the same goes for Salah. Selling one of those two would be the easiest way of buying Saka as well, and also getting Bowen in the process. But in terms of the captaincy, Bowen or Saka will likely be my final captain, and if I buy both of them at the same time, I think I'll take a punt on Saka, and there is only the kind of slight concern if he starts or not. With Jarrod Bowen, there will be no such concerns whatsoever. And the expected points I talked about yesterday, you can also see it in that team selection with commentary and stuff like that, so make sure to refer back to that video as well. But that is pretty much the expected points for Gameweek 38 according to Fantasy Football Hub. And the last thing I want to show you is injury updates. So buckle your seatbelts, there are a lot of injury updates to get through. I'll cover them once here, and then later on I'll show the graphics, but I'll be answering questions in the meantime. So I did refer to this in my team selection video yesterday. So Isak is in contention to play for Newcastle, and Eddie Howe said he is doing okay, He hasn't trained with us yet, but he's made good progress through the week. The next couple of days will be absolutely crucial to his availability on Sunday. There's a chance he could play. It's difficult to give any more than that. Until he trains with us, we won't fully know he's going to respond to the training, how he's going to respond to the training and demands that the game will place upon him. We'll only play him if he's fit to contribute, but at the moment, he has an opportunity, potentially. We also got more updates from Eddie Howe, and he said Jonathan can't play on Sunday. He won't be back. And on Trippier, he said he's probably in a similar situation to Alexander Isak. He hasn't trained with us yet, and he's had an absence of maybe 2.5 weeks, but he has a chance maybe in the next couple of days to build up his load, and maybe we'll see him train tomorrow. Let's wait and see. And also with Enzo Maresca, he said this about Nkuku. He is working with us in the last day. Him and Mark Guiu both can be available for the next game against Forest, knowing both have not played some minutes because of the injury. Reece James is okay. He has his own program because we said we tried to protect him. We are managing him in the training session. And now we have Fabian Hürzeler, who said Joao Pedro won't be in the squad against Spurs. With Joao, we had a small issue in training, the type that isn't uncommon from time to time at all clubs. It has been dealt with internally. The matter is closed. And on other team news, he said it'll be the same squad we had against Liverpool, so it's only positive things. Jorginho Rota is not available. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, and we won't risk anything. He'll be back in pre-season. And Arne Slot said the following. Last weekend, Joe Gomez was there with the team, but he was not able to play yet. He didn't tick all of the boxes yet, but there was a spot open on the bench, so it was for me a moment where I could show my gratitude towards him to show what he's done on the pitch for us, but also off the pitch for us. I'm hoping that he can make some minutes on Sunday if he ticks all the boxes this week. And Mikel Arteta had plenty to say. So during Timber had surgery on Tuesday morning on his ankle. He's been feeling that discomfort for many, many weeks. He has been navigating through the season with that issue, and it needed to be resolved, so he's going to be out for a while. And William Saliba, he felt something in his hamstring in the first half against Newcastle, just before halftime. And again, he's going to be out for a few weeks, but we don't know exactly how much. Hopefully he'll be somewhere near the pre-season if everything goes well, but we don't know yet. And that was all covered in my Transfers podcast as well. Ruud van Nistelrooy talked about Leicester team news. No new injuries. We can go to Bournemouth with a similar squad to that which beat Ipswich Town 2-0. And Guardiola was quite concise here. Except John Stones, the rest are fit. Rodri is not going to start. He is not ready to start. Someone actually asked me about Rodri in FPL, and my advice was no. And I think this comment basically just supports that even further. And someone asked me about Strand Larsen, and Vitor Perez said the following. With Strand Larsen, we have doubts. We will see tomorrow. He is trying. And he said this on Friday, so hopefully he is in a good spot now. Graham Potter talked about West Ham team news here. We are as we were. Our focus is to try to win the match. Mixing things up with one game to go doesn't make sense, and we'll be going for the win. David Moyes said Gerard Branthwaite is injured and won't be available. He'll be out for 4 or 5 weeks with his hamstring injury. It's a big blow. We have to live with it. Seamus Coleman has a thigh strain, so he won't be available either. And of course, Tarkowski is out as well. Taylor Harwood-Bellis had a nasty ankle injury last week, which will rule him out. Jan Bednarek is still struggling with his knee injury, so it's unlikely anything will change with that. Also, Grombeek has been struggling with his Achilles. There's a couple out, so there's a little bit of adapting for this one. So that could bode well for Arsenal and those that invest in the right players who actually start the game for the Gunners. And that could be a high-scoring game indeed. We'll wait and see. But Southampton have a decent record against them. Oliver Glasner said Mark Gay can't play. He's also not been called up for England due to this. His eye needs a rest. He can't do anything at the moment. He really just needs to rest and can't play. Adam Wharton, of course, definitely can't play with his concussion. And we have Nathaniel Klein and Ben Chilwell who are still struggling with illness. But all of the others in the squad are fit and ready to play at Anfield. Marco Silva said there's nothing really different from the last game. No fresh news. And that's pretty much all we need to know. Thank you very much, Marco Silva. And Thomas Frank gave another lengthy quote. The team's looking good. Everyone that was available for the last game is available again. And feel free to pause, rewind, and all that good stuff if you wish. But yeah, with some of them, I think the first line pretty much sums up everything. And Nuno said this about Nottingham Forest: still assessing Murillo. It was his ankle, not being able to train, so we will see tomorrow. Our knee is much better, already been able to walk. Doctor informed he is starting his normal life in terms of eating his food, so he is doing much better. In the game, he is not going to be with us. It was a big issue. It is in our mind yet, and we want him to be healthy again. So it's going to be a game for So wait, it's going to be a game for Tower? Oh, so it's going to be a game for Tower, for the fans, for the city, for everybody. And we are approaching the end of this lengthy team news section. Kieran McKenna said Calvin Phillips is seeing a specialist for his Achilles issue, so hopefully to get that sorted in the off-season. Sami Schmodix is back in training with the group, but we have to decide on availability. The long-termers are still out, and there's still a bit of sickness in the camp, so we've had a few off and are struggling with that. And we've got one more here by Areola, and he wrote a bloody monologue. He thinks he's Shakespeare. So Alex Scott and James Hill could have a chance. Alex with the mask has trained for the first day today. Probably not 100% comfortable, but he wants to try, and we'll see tomorrow if he can deal with the mask and can be comfortable. I think he's in a good move and probably can give us a good hand. Also, it's important because we are quite thin in those positions in the middle. So yeah, he's talking a lot about that face mask. Feel free to pause and all that good stuff. I'll go for it one more time in terms of showing the graphics, but in terms of me reading them out, no point, mate. No absolute point. But we are back to my team. We've got, 1 hour, 40 minutes until the deadline. So nothing locked in yet. Still waiting for any potential team news to gain a small advantage in an otherwise dismal season, should I say. Welbeck expected minutes. Difficult to say, to be fair. I think if I had to guess, I would probably say 80 minutes. Yeah, since Game Week 31, he's basically played 90 minutes in most games. There have been a few occasions where he gets 76, 83. Yeah, I'm going to say around 80 minutes. I'm playing triple captaincy, Bowen or Evanison. My favourite is Bowen. I showed the captaincy list earlier. Feel free to go back to that. So yeah, Paredes, I did go through the Isak latest update from Eddie Howe, which was also talked about in my team selection. We haven't got any concrete news just yet on him. I can't own Evanison as our free Bournemouth already. We'll use the bench boost, so leading to replace Isak. The thing is, I'm not a big fan of most forwards this week. Mateus Cunha might not even start the game. His minutes are a concern. I think Vissa's solid. I don't really mind Vissa. The fixture isn't particularly great, you could say, but yeah, I think he's probably the best of a bad bunch. Yeah, Welbeck would be interesting. I could see why you're looking at him. But yeah, I think Vissa's probably the one. If Diaz is playing, I might go there. That's solid. I think that's a pretty good pick. Brighton attacker versus Spurs hungover team. To be honest, Spurs can be, fully sober. They're still a pretty poor defence in my opinion. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. Liverpool, for example, in the last couple of weeks have been celebrating. They haven't really been the same, winless in 3 Premier League games. But, yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think the hungover thing really plays a part. Ahmed says, member for 8 months. Thank you so much for being awesome. Thank you very much for the kind words, Ahmed. And I hope to see you in the UCL Fantasy videos and the live stream over the next week. And all the best for Game Week 38 as well. Yeah, my favourite triple captain is Saka or Bowen. And it all depends on if Saka starts. If he does, he's my number 1 pick. No updates on Saka. No. Thanks, Dylan, for your help throughout the whole summer, or throughout the whole season. Have a great summer and good luck this game week. Likewise, Josh, thank you very much and enjoy the summer as well. Recharge the batteries and we'll go again next season. Yeah, it's difficult with Trossard. I think if he starts, he's my favourite, but I have a feeling it'll be Marino up front and Martinelli on the left. So my favourite right now, based on that guess and prediction, is Martinelli. He's my favourite of the 3. Terry says, I'm on free hit, unlimited budget. Any changes? I don't really care about the subs. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter on the free hit. Not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. I would personally start a second Arsenal defender. That would be my preference there. I just don't think West Ham keep a clean sheet. I've gone for 3-2 in their favour. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, Kirkesh, Raya, really solid. I like it, but I would replace Wan-Bissaka with either a Newcastle defender or another Arsenal one, and there you can go for Kivior, Calafiori, or White. In the midfield, solid. Don't really have too many qualms about it. I would still recommend Saka though, especially if he starts. Front line is good. Good front line. If Isak starts, I'd be tempted to buy him, but otherwise, I think really the main thing to address is Wan-Bissaka, and I'd go to probably Kivior, White, or Calafiori. Start Sells or Areola, not backing either for a clean sheet. I'd start Sells. I've started Bradley. Should I double with him with Konate or bench Konate and start Gvardiol? I'd start Gvardiol. Yeah. Cheers, Dylan in chat. Gaming 38 highlights how much the deadline needs to be moved to kickoff. 90 minutes of dead air that could be filled with discussion. Yeah, I get that, Travis. I mean, we all have our different opinions. A lot is influenced by where we are. I think those in the UK have a massive advantage over those in other regions. I think people still wake up early across the world and, you know, they get their teams done as well, but it's just an inconvenience. Yeah, I would like it to be at kickoff. It is with UCL Fantasy, the World Cup and Euros. I think the same at FPL would be great. Arteta says after the post-match versus Newcastle that he'll likely do some rotation versus Southampton since they already got the Champions League spot. Yeah, they could change a few things, but is it going to be wholesale changes? I'm not particularly sure. Could it be Wanyeri starting instead of Saka? It's possible. But yeah, I'll be honest, I think it's going to be still quite difficult to predict the Arsenal team, but I don't think the changes will be that big compared to what maybe he insinuated in that comment. Aranya says my free hit team is Pope, Kirkes, Kivior, Wan-Bissaka, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Saka, Captain, Bowen, Martinelli, Vanos, Vissa. Same as before. I think Wan-Bissaka is just not a big fan of him. I think Ipswich Town will score. So I would replace him and maybe go for Fabian Schär. Yeah, Fabian Schär or another Arsenal defender is my recommendation. They're both in the top 3 for clean sheet odds, and they're the only 2 teams to keep a clean sheet based on my predictions. So, yeah, I'd replace Wan-Bissaka in that 11. The rest is solid. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I think that's a solid platform. I'm just not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. And Sari says, I've gone from 900k to 125k over the last 8 game weeks. Do you reckon I can break 100k? Yeah, you can. You will need a solid week, but it is possible. Any differential captains in mind? I think Evanescence would stand out. Or a secondary Arsenal attacker that isn't Saka, per se. My favourite will be Evanescence. Start Milenkovic, Diaz and Evanescence, or Kirkes, Murphy, Saka. Bit of a weird one. My favourite trio is probably going to be Kirkes, Murphy and Saka. I think the Arsenal defence will not change, especially Raya. Well, yeah, but unfortunately Timber and Saliba are out for several weeks. So Calafiori will start, Ben White, Lewis Skelly, and Kivior. So, yeah, I think that kind of speaks for itself. The rest of the Arsenal defenders, they have a lot of depth there, are pretty much injured, except Tierney and Zinchenko. Hugo says Isak. Isak and Sarr out, Evanescence and Bowen in. Yeah, I think so. If Isak starts, I'd be a little bit uneasy about selling him, especially for a hit, which I could end up doing. But at the moment, it looks really solid. Liam Campbell says, hi Dylan, I'm 10 points behind in my mini league and I have triple captain. Would you do Sarr to Martinelli or Trossard for free or Isak and Sarr to Evanescence and Saka for a -4? I take the -4 hit here. Now, that's based on the information we currently have, and we don't know anything about Isak, if he starts or not. That could also swing it the other way around, but at the moment, I would suggest selling Isak and Sarr and taking the hit. Hassan says, Raya, Wan-Bissaka, Gvardiol, Konsa. A lot of Wan-Bissaka owners here. Best triple captain. Well, for me, it's Saka or Bowen, which I discussed before. If we get confirmation that Saka starts, I'd personally captain him, but Bowen is absolutely fine. Motomo says, hi Dylan, I have Raya, Livramento, Kivior, Gvardiol, Salah, Bowen, Rodgers and Bumo, Isak, Watkins, Visser. Bench, Areola, Williams, Sarr, and Munoz. Yeah, if Isak is benched or he's left out, I would sell him to Evanescence, and you could use those funds to buy Saka in the midfield. Ideally for Rodgers, but it all depends on your budget as well. But yeah, if Isak is benched, I'd recommend doing that sort of transfer. Even for a -4 hit, I think it's worth it. Ashwin says bench boost, 2 free transfers, Gabriel to Kirkes, not sure on the second. Got Salah, Murphy, Rogers and Boomer, Bowen, Delap, Isak, Watkins, thinking Murphy and Rogers to Trossard. Should I take a -4? I like Trossard if he starts, but my current prediction is for Marino and Martinelli to start up front. I could be wrong about that, to be honest, but yeah, Trossard is a risky pick either way. I think if he does start and we get the confirmation for the deadline, I'm very happy with that pick. Hey Dylan, out of Bowen and Mbumo, who would you sell to get Saka? Probably Mbumo. I rank Bowen higher this week. Marmoush or Rogers to start? I would rather start Marmoush. Would you start Gvardiol or Konate? Gvardiol. Hey Dylan, how's it going? Who would you buy between Kivior, Livramento, Konsa and Gvardiol? For me, it's between Kivior and Livramento. They're the only 2 teams I'm backing for a clean sheet. I'm going to say Kivior here. We'll see how that ages. Viewer Palestine says, hi Dylan, can't believe it's the last game week. I'm 10 points off the top. Our teams are 70% of the same and not sure what transfers he will do. Oh, right, yeah. A lot of teams I'm seeing in the chat as well. It does seem quite similar from my perspective, so I do get that. Well, 10 points is definitely doable. It's going to be tough, but still achievable. Yeah, I just don't know your team for me to say, oh, you should buy this. But I think Ivanosen up front is a massive differential at the moment. He'll become a bit more template as the deadline nears. But yeah, him, Bowen and Saka are 3 of my favourite players this week, and I'd recommend buying them if possible. Rogers to Gordon, I have Watkins, and I will do Isak to Ivanosen or keep Isak and get a Bournemouth mid. -8 for the first one. Yeah, I'm not so sure about taking a -8. I'd say no, it's not worth it. And Watkins has never scored against United in the Premier League. I'm not saying he can't today, but history would suggest that it's unlikely that he will get a massive return. So, yeah, my favourite is going to be the Isak to Ivanosen move, but only if we get information that Isak is benched or left out. Sydney says, I have 2 free transfers. I'm bringing Ivanosen for Mateta. My other transfer, who should I move out for Saka, De Bruyne or Rogers? I'd rather sell Rogers if you can and keep De Bruyne, but a lot depends on your budget. Who should I bench between Wood and the one I keep? I'd bench Chris Wood, I think. Payman Armin says, hi, Raya Martinez, Gvardiol, Munoz, Konsa, Livramento. 2 free transfers, chasing 15 points for 50k. Is that 1.9 million in the bank? Okay. So yeah, I'd start Raya. I'd go for Gvardiol, Livramento and Konsa as things stand. You've got 2 free transfers anyway. In Boomer, Bowen, KDB, Rogers, I'd bench Sar, Haaland, Vissa, Mateta. That looks good. I would sell Mateta to Ivanosen and look to upgrade. Yeah, maybe KDB to Saka. Keep it simple. Or, I mean, you could take a -4 hit. Sell Saliba to a budget defender. Like Kivior even. Somewhat budget, almost mid-priced. So if you could do something like Saliba to Kivior, and then one of Rogers or Sar to Saka, and Mateta to Ivanosen, that is very solid for a -4 hit. If you can't afford it, then I think just KDB to Saka, Mateta to Ivanosen looks good as well. I know this is next season, which Leeds, Burnley or Sunderland player to buy. I'll talk about this in the summer, to be honest. I know Bellingham will be obviously a big or very popular option because of his name, but I'll talk about this in the summer. KDB to Saka for a -4 and triple captain Saka. Yes, it is risky though, because there is a chance that Saka doesn't start, so bear that in mind. I'm not so sure about that easy. I know United are a poor side, but they can still get results against the better teams. I do think they step up against, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Aston Villa. Thanks, Dylan. I gave my like number 40 earlier. Good luck for Gimmick 38. I appreciate it. Hi, Dylan. Play free. Kukurela Milenkovic. Was that Mikalenko? Yes, I think Milenkovic. Gvardiol, Kirkes, Aitnuri. I would start Kirkes, Gvardiol, and Milenkovic. Trossard or Martinelli for the final game. I think Martinelli will start. And with Trossard, I'm less certain. Otherwise, it's a different answer. at the moment, I would say Martinelli. Marmush to Evanussen for a -4, and then possibly Captain Evanussen. Not for a -4, no. I meant who would you bench? Yeah, I don't know where your question is right now. Sorry, mate. I'd have to scroll up, and I just don't see it. There's a lot of questions here. Hi, Dylan. 2 advice I will need from you. Sells or Pickford? Sells. Also, who to bench? I would bench Sessegnon and Konsa. Start Enzo or Rogers? Rogers. Semenyo or Bowen for Savio? Or Saka and Evanussen for Savio and Wood -4? I take the -4 hit. They'll have to start. Kind of disappointing he's not starting the last game week. Yeah, I'm quite surprised by that as well. I thought he would have been a decent punt for the last 2 game weeks. Diaz, Bowen, Milenkovic, or Saka, Elanga, Kirkes? Saka, Elanga, Kirkes, in my opinion. It is close, though. That is very close. Who's the best captain? From those 4, it's Bowen, in my opinion. Who do you think would get the bigger return? Bowen for me there, user 69. Play Asensio or Rogers? It's still Rogers for me. Vignesh says 2 free transfers, keeping Isak, Wood to Evanussen, and KDB to Bowen. Looks solid. Now, if you've got Cunha as well, I'd consider selling him instead, but that is team dependent. Hassan says, got De Bruyne first and Munoz second on the bench. Should I sub them in for Wood? I prefer De Bruyne over Chris Wood a little bit. The Belgian has 1 goal and 5 assists in 7 games against Fulham. I think you could add another one to the list. Who are the forwards with something to play for? Well, Visser and Evanussen, Welbeck, you know, these teams that still have a slight chance of just gaining points in the table, obviously gaining league position. I think Brighton and Brentford do have an outside chance of Europe, but they would need a lot to go their way as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Chris Wood, of course, is a standout. He's still playing for Champions League football, and a European spot is on the line. Yeah, the other options, Isak, if he's available, but that's just a template pick. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, a lot has been settled very early this season. It's just the top 5 that's a bit interesting. Is Mbuma a differential captain? Maybe a little bit. Definitely compared to previous weeks. The EO will be slightly lower, but he's not the biggest differential you'll ever see. His own ownership overall is quite high. Would you bench between Kivior, Livramento, Konsa, Gvardiol? I think I answered this already, though. I did say Konsa on the bench. Gruda as a differential or Martinelli? Yeah, Martinelli. Cunha to Evanussen. Looks good to me, Mark. Relax Eye Gamer says, hey Dylan, I have 2 free transfers, so Kirkus for Saliba and Marmush for Watkins or Evanussen. Evanussen. And Kirkus is fine. Play Semenyo in the place of Chris Wood or Mateta. I'd bench Mateta. So your team is Pickford, Jose Sa, Livramento, Kirkes, Milenkovic, Cucurella, Rogers, Salah, Mbeumo, Bowen, Gibbs-White, Isak, Evanussen, Vardy. Well, Vardy's not going to play. But then again, there aren't many standout forwards this week. Maybe Vardy to Visser is solid. That does stand out overall amongst your team. Triple captain still to play. You could buy Saka. Not sure about your budget, but ideally I'd say Gibbs-White. The Saka looks really good. Livramento, Kirkes and Gvardiol is a solid defensive line. I don't think you need to make a transfer there. Pickford and goal, not great, but yeah, you probably want to avoid goalkeeper transfers there. So yeah, I'd say probably Vardy to Visser. And Gibbs-White to Saka if you can make that work. Haaland and Diaz, or should I sell both for Evanussen and Salah? I'd probably sell both of them if it's free. Basuna says, does Ben White 100% start? Not reading the last part of that, but congratulations on the Europa League win. Yeah, Ben White will start, I think, because Timber's out for, well, several weeks. Not like it matters now anyway. And Saliba's out for several weeks. So I think it'll be a backline of Lewis Skelly, Calafiori, Kivior, and Ben White. Yeah, Easy did read out your question earlier, or your comment. Shivane says start Milenkovic, Diaz, and Ivanason, or Kirkes, Murphy, Saka, both for a hit. I think I also answered this, mate, but yeah, I'm fairly sure I said Kirkes, Murphy, Saka. This was early in the stream. Who would you pick as a manager? I'm guessing this says. Oof. Well, I'm backing Spurs to win today, and it would be table bonus, so I think Postecoglou, you know? Yeah, why not? Hi, Dylan. Would you play Rodgers or Eze? Rodgers. Speaking of which, I haven't actually shown the FDR and all that good stuff, so let's do that for a little bit. So this is my mini league. You can still join, and your points from Gameweek 1 will be counted. So this is your last chance to join for this season. And unless FPL do something dodgy, I'll be able to renew this, and you can also automatically be in it for the next season as well. So big up to Callum and everyone else who is in this mini league. Callum is still going very strong in this Premier League campaign. With the FDR, only one game week left, and Bournemouth are top, facing Leicester at home. Newcastle, Ipswich Town, Wolves, and Liverpool are in the top 5. For some reason, Arsenal are 8th, despite facing Southampton away. But there you go. Maybe the St. Mary's curse for the Gunners is playing a part in this FDR. The teams near the bottom are Crystal Palace, Everton, Leicester, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. And for predicted points, Salah is still top, but 6.8 is probably the lowest we've seen for him in many months, probably since the beginning of this season. Haaland, Martinelli, Watkins, Semenyo, Raul Jimenez, Ivanoson, Barnes, Calafiori, and White are in the top 10. I've basically got none of these players, which is looking great for my FPL prospects. With the assistant manager, Postecoglou is top, according to Fantasy Football Hub. Amram is second. Pereira, Arteta, and Iriola complete the top 5. We've also got Slot in 6th, Silva 7th, Howe in 8th, Moyes in 9th, and Guardiola in 10th. Then we've got Maresca, Potter, Frank, Nuno, Emery, McKenna, Glasner, Van Nistelrooy, Ursula, and Simon Rusk, aka Juric, in FPL. That is the order of the best managers according to this predicted points algorithm. With price changes, let's refresh this and see if anything has changed. So apparently Kirkes, Bowen, Martinelli, Gvardiol, Welbeck, and Ivanoson could all go up in price tonight, whilst Robinson, Salah, Henderson, Branthwaite, Chris Wood, and Pickford could go down. Let's also compare the stats of 2 of the best players in Gameweek 38, Bowen and Saka. I think one of these will end up being the best captaincy option from the popular choices at least. So stats are quite similar. Saka has played 9 fewer games and a few appearances off the bench. 11 goals for Bowen to Saka's 6, and both of them have double digits in terms of actual assists there. 80 shots there for Bowen, 63 for Saka. Shots on target, Bowen does lead as well. And the same goes for shots inside the box, but it's very close, and Saka has a good shots in the box per appearance volume, so to speak. The XG is also pretty decent on both sides. I think with Saka, you'd probably hope for a bit more, considering his price, but Bowen's is 8.65. The expected assist is in Saka's favour. The same goes for big chance created, double the amount of Jared Bowen, and big chances, Bowen has 4 more, but maybe you're a bit surprised to hear that both of them have basically 15 or less. You would have expected maybe close to 20 from both of them. Key passes is quite evenly matched, but Saka has 5 more. And in terms of creativity, I think there is a clear winner there in Saka. He does have more quality surrounding him. I think the likes of Kudus at West Ham have had a poor season, but Jared Bowen is definitely one to rely on for the goals, and his recent form has been spectacular. So, let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I talked about this in my team selection video yesterday, but I could take this -4 hit by selling Isak to Ivanoson, buying Saka for De Bruyne, and Jared Bowen replacing Rodgers for a -4 hit. Then I could captain either Bowen or Saka. My current preference is Saka, but if we look at the expected points, I think they're the exact same. So, yeah, Saka and Bowen. Well, it's very close, but Saka's marginally ahead. 5.23 to Bowen's 5.16 based on FPL.team. It will be different with the other algorithms like Fantasy Football Hub, which I talked about earlier. But one of them could be my final captain. Murphy will be on the bench, by the way, with this sort of structure. Maybe I start with Cunha. Maybe that is probably the play, to be fair. Cunha's minutes are a concern. But yeah, FPL.team are recommending Cunha at the moment. An FPL challenge. This is my current squad. Rise in goal. Kirk is in the defensive line. Salah, Bowen captain, and Isak. That all depends on the lineups. If I'm still live by the time we're getting those, I'll try to cover as many as possible, but that would be quite hectic. And I'll lock in my FPL challenge team. And this week, any goals will result in double the amount of points. And also 1 player per team allowed. That's why I don't have Saka. And ideally, I'd have a Arsenal defender as well. But that's what I've gone for at the moment. If Isak is benched or something like that, I might just go for Cher or Nick Pope in goal. And then switch things up a little bit in this FPL challenge team, which I'll go back to by the end of the deadline. Let's now go back to my FPL team for a little bit. Later on, I'll show the graphics once more for the top 10 captaincy options, clean sheet odds, and injury updates. And yeah, feel free to pause, rewind, and all that good stuff. Hi, 1 transfer, Williams, Munoz, Milenkovic, 2. I would sell Munoz to one of Kirkes or Kivior, depending on your budget. If you've got even more, you might even want to go for Calafiori or White. Yeah, I think White is a decent punt for this week. Need 3 points. Who is the better pick? Cunha to Evanescent or Sarta Barnes? I like Evanescent a lot. But if Cunha does start and we get the information for the deadline, I would say Sarta Barnes. Yeah, well, but good differential. He's mentioned a lot in this stream, to be honest. Josh McCree says Sarta Bowen for a -4 or Marmush to Evanescent for a -4. Bowen. On my free hit, I'm going with both Saka and Martinelli and Kivior too. So which pair would you pick? Arsenal defence, Who plus Pope, or Newcastle defence and Raya? I would go for Raya and then Cher. If Trippier does start, he'd be my favourite, but there is a chance he doesn't. So to be a little bit safer, you could go for Fabian Cher, who's also a differential. Ezra says sell Cucurella or Nico Williams to a second Arsenal defender, or Kirkes, or focus on forwards, have the same as you. A lot depends on team news, I think, but I'd rather focus on the forwards if you can, and I'd buy Evanescent. Hi Dylan, I have triple captain. Who should I use it on? I'd say Bowen. But back your gut on that one, mate, because even my captaincy recently has been quite poor, and that has cost me a lot. Start Konsa or Wan-Bissaka. That is really close. I'd actually go for Konsa here. Is it worth doing KDB to Saka? Yes. Now, Saka could be benched. It's slightly risky, but I think he will start. Bench Williams and Milenkovic. Depends who you're benching them for. I don't mind starting Milenkovic this week. Mohammed says, White, I've got Raya, Bowen, Saka, Trusted, Welbeck. Who would you get from them? Or just take a hit and get 2 of them? Saka and Bowen. Yeah. Saka and Bowen are my favourites. Get Evanescent for Marmush or get Trusted for Elanga. This is kind of problematic because if Trossard starts, I really like him as a punt. But at the moment, with no information, I actually don't think he does. So as things stand, I'm going to say Evanescent for Marmush and then start Elanga. So that is my current answer. Team news is going to be very important, and a lot of my answers from now could actually change based on that information. Bench Wood or Rogers? Rogers. Leonardo says, I'm on bench boost and I have KDB, Sessegnon and Kirkes on the bench. Take a -4 to replace any of them, or it looks good. Yeah, I mean, Sessegnon is the weak link in my opinion, but he does have attacking potential for a defender, and I'm not a big fan of taking a hit for a player in that position. But KDB to Saka or Bowen I think could be worth the hit. Defensively, maybe Sessegnon to Cher or an Arsenal option. That's really the only ones I could really say. Kirkes is fine, of course. Kalu says transfer Munoz or Ruben Diaz to Kirkes or Rogers to Saka. I'd sell Munoz and keep Diaz. And yeah, Rogers to Saka. Really good. Do you prefer Kirkes over Gvardiol? This week, yeah, I do. No leaks at the moment. Will Savio start for City? Difficult one. I think I've got it right the last couple, but sometimes I'm completely off the mark with this and with Man City in general. Will he start? Well, Grealish is apparently not going to be in the squad. That's one bit of news we've had today. That does boost Savio's chances, but I'm going to say yes. Not a big fan of him, though. Ruben or Munoz to Arsenal defender or Kirkes? I'd say Kirkes if you have Rye already. But in terms of my predictions, I've gone for 3-0 Arsenal and 3-1 Bournemouth. Only 2 teams to keep a clean sheet based on my scorelines, Newcastle and Arsenal. Hey, Dylan, bench Rodgers or Aina? I'd bench Aina. ANWR says hi. Elanga to Saka, Isak to Vanason. Oh my god. Munoz to Kivior -8. Already won my mini league. 650k overall. Want to try to get a better overall rank. Also thought about De Bruyne to Saka, Elanga, Semenyo, Munoz, White. Yeah, Elanga to Saka looks really good. I'm guessing Isak to Vanason funds that move. I'm in a similar boat to you there. I wouldn't do Munoz to Kivior if you could start someone like Milenkovic, to be honest. So if you can do that, save the hit and just focus on Saka and Vanason. Ezra says my defensive line is Cucurella, Livramento, Williams, Raya, Kanate, Areola, so sell Cunha for Vanason. Yeah, I think that's a solid transfer. Now, if I get the information, or if we see that Cunha starts, I might just end up keeping him, to be fair. Dylan Trussell to start the last 7. Well, it is a good sign, yeah, but with Marino back from suspension and also Martinelli kind of nailing down that left wing spot, I'm just not entirely sure that Trossard starts. And even if he does, I think the minutes will be, yeah, kind of not secure. He'll get 60, 70 minutes as a starter. I don't think so easy, but we'll see. Maybe you're right. Kirkes or Kivior, says Bernardo Martins. I think Kivior's a better chance for clean sheet, to be honest. Yeah. If you don't have Raya, I'm going to say Kivior. That really is a big factor as well. Unless you're that bullish on an Arsenal clean sheet and you just want to double up, that's fine. But yeah, I'm going to say Kivior. Will Cunha start? I hope so. At the moment, I think he will. It will be his last game for Wolves, but it's not a guarantee. Ivanoson for me there, Mohammed. Karim says Martinelli and Kirkes over Eze and Munoz for a -4. Yes. I like that transfer. Or those transfers, yeah. Looks pretty solid. If I play Diaz and bench Gavardio and they both get the same points, will it hurt or better my rank? No, it makes no difference. You've got the exact same points, so it cancels it out. Abhishek says, unless there are any leaks, I want to bring in Saka. Should I do KDB to Saka or Vardy to a forward 7.5 million or under? I'd consider doing both. I'm guessing you only have the funds for one. Vardy to Ivanoson would be tempting. And if that's the case, I think maybe Vardy to Ivanoson is best in your situation. And you keep KDB for his last Man City game. But you have no Saka. That is maybe the only downside. But yeah, I'd say Vardy to Ivanoson. Thank you, ANWR. Dawn says, thoughts on Isak to Ivanoson and Rodgers to Saka for -4. At the moment, it looks really good, but that could all change if Isak is touted to start. No news, mate. No news. I said this before. Sydney says, I'm planning to start Kivior, Bradley, and Konsa over Gavardio. I'm trying to back against C's defense, high ownership. Is it worth it, or am I playing or being foolhardy? No, it's not really a terrible idea. I think Kivior's the standout from your defensive line, but I'd personally start Gavardio over Konsa and Bradley. And we could see Trent start in his final Liverpool game as well. I'm not even sure Bradley starts here. So I'd personally start Gavardio over Bradley. That's just my opinion. So according to multiple sources, Isak is going to start. Yeah, I just don't know which sources they are. I haven't seen them myself. I'll double check now and see if I can get anything. But yeah, I don't trust most leaks and stuff like that, especially for Newcastle. Yeah, I'm not sure about this source. Because someone is saying, and don't base any transfers or anything based on what I'm saying now, but one source here is saying Trippier on the bench and Isak starts, but I'm not sure if they're reliable. My guess is they probably aren't. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, I kind of wish Isak was unavailable. Then it just makes it very simple to go to Ivanoson, buy Saka and Bowen, and I'd be very happy. Now this does complicate things a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the chat. Let's get the likes up. And ultimately, we want to get to 200 plus by the end of the final deadline stream for FPL this season. Thank you to those that have supported the channel throughout. John David says, thanks for the season, Dylan. Last game week, I'm going for triple captain Salah. already took a -4 to bring in Welbeck, Bowen, and White. Captain who, since last week, Saka didn't do much and got subbed. Saka's still top of my list, but yeah, from those options, it would be Bowen. Lineup for the match should be out in an hour before kickoff. Well, yeah, the kickoff is going to be at 4. Was it 4? Why am I bugging out? Yeah, 4 p.m. UK time, right? Jesus, I kind of zoned out of this season, I'm not going to lie, because, yeah. So, yeah, the games are at 4. Yeah, we're going to get the lineups and all that at, what, 2:45 p.m. UK time, so that's in 1 hour, 25 minutes. So still got to wait a little bit. Danny Welbeck differential or Watkins, Visser for Vardy. My favourite is Visser. I would actually rank Welbeck above Watkins, though. I would do that. Also, triple captain Salah as Liverpool finish on a high. Well, I think Liverpool will win, but Salah's been dreadful for weeks now, and that open goal miss against Brighton is kind of sums up my season, to be honest. Not my favourite option. He's third in my list, but still worth captaining. I have a feeling Leicester will score, and also think clean sheets won't be common. I agree. I've gone for 3-1 Bournemouth, and I think Leicester have been decent recently. I think Arsenal and Newcastle are the most likely to keep a clean sheet, and based on the odds, Arsenal are third, Bournemouth second, and Newcastle are top. Matthias Presler says, who should I go for? Free transfers. Well, assuming that Isak does start, I would focus your attention elsewhere, and you could do something like Saliba to an Arsenal defender like Kivior, White, or Calafiori. And I would definitely look to buy Bowen in your case. So let's see what you could do. Saliba to Kivior. Ideally, Rodgers to Saka. And then Murphy to Bowen. That would be like my ideal set of transfers for you, but you probably can't afford that. KDB to Saka says K-Man Corner. Yes. On my free hit, I'm going with both Saka and Martinelli. I did answer this, mate, Aranya. I highlighted it as well. My advice was to go for Raya and Fabian Schär. Sells or Areola? Sells. Dylan, are you keeping Murphy? He has played right wing back for the last 2 games. If Howe returns to his traditional 4-3-3, then he plays on the wing. Yeah. I did see one source, not sure how reliable they are, saying that they're going to go for a back 3. The thing is, if I just decide, you know what, I'm just going to buy Van for Isak and I get Saka and Bowen, Murphy would be on my bench anyway. But he can still get returns like he did against Chelsea. So, yeah, it's a difficult one, but Murphy isn't as appealing now as he was back in Gameweek 30. Villa clean sheet, not for me. I've gone for 1-1. I think United will get a result. Wolves, Brentford prediction, I've gone for 2-2. So let's go through those graphics again and see. We'll just kind of recap my scorelines. So I've gone for Bournemouth 3, Leicester 1, Fulham 1, Man City 2, Ipswich Town 2, West Ham 3, Liverpool 2, Crystal Palace 1, Man United 1, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 2, Everton 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Chelsea 1, Southampton 0, Arsenal 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Brighton 1, and Wolves 2, Brentford 2. Those are my predictions, and I also let the rest play out. The highlighted team and team weakness alongside the 1 week punt that I really recommend this week, who has somewhat low ownership, but that could definitely change by the deadline. So to target Leicester's poor defence, I think Evanescent is a great pick, as covered earlier. So feel free to pause, rewind, and all that good stuff. In terms of the clean sheet odds, which I referred to just a few minutes ago as well, Newcastle are top, Bournemouth are second, and Arsenal are third. But based on my predictions, I've gone for Newcastle and Arsenal to keep the clean sheets and for Bournemouth to concede against Leicester. Liverpool are 4th, Man City 5th, and Aston Villa are 6th. All these numbers are taken by fantasyfootballpundit.com, but for the over 2 goals, that is taken by DraftHound. Palace are bottom for both metrics. I think actually for clean sheet odds, for over 2 goals, I think Southampton are bottom for that. So yeah, in terms of the attacking, Arsenal and Liverpool are the most favoured this week. And moving on to the top 10 captaincy options. An interesting list, you could say. You might disagree with some of it, but I've gone for De Bruyne in 10th, Martinelli 9th, Marino 8th, Haaland 7th, Mbumo 6th, and the top 5 is Evanilson, Isak, Salah, Bowen, and Bukayo Saka, who is in top spot for the first time this season. I'm also going to let these team selection graphics play out. Your messages won't be highlighted on screen now, but they will do later on when I go back to other screens. But let's go for some different comments while this plays out. You can see my performance, the prices, predicted points, and my provisional team selection, but I haven't made any transfers just yet. Meteta to Evanilson or Welbeck, I would go to Evanilson. Start Livramento or Wan-Bissaka, says Adil. I would start Livramento. I'm not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. Not really sure, Tosti, when we'll know if Isak starts or not. It really depends if we get a reliable source kind of confirming it before the deadline. But yeah, I don't think we'll get that, unfortunately. It looks like it, Virat, based on some sources on Twitter, but I'm not sure how reliable they are. Well, that's if he joins Liverpool or Man City easy. It looks like Liverpool are the favourites right now. I think Verts in FPL could be 9 to 10 million. I'd probably say 10 million. De Bruyne to Bowen for a -4. -4. Possibly. I'm going to say yeah. Thank you, Virat. I appreciate it. Marmoush or Sarr to start. Marmoush. I would bench Sarr. Should I go Rodgers for Bowen? Yes. I think Bowen is an upgrade. Martinez or Alisson? I think both of them could concede, but the better chance of a clean sheet, in my opinion, is Alisson. So, geez, not many clean sheet predictions. Don't you think it'll be cagey with teams playing for something? Well, in a lot of cases, I don't think there's a lot to play for. We know the teams that are being relegated, as bad as United and Tottenham have been, they're safe in 16th and 17th. Obviously, the Premier League title was wrapped up some time ago. It's only the top 5. That's, for example, Chelsea versus Forest, I've gone for 1-1, so that's quite cagey and stuff like that. But yeah, I think, to be honest, my predictions could be underselling it. There could be even higher scoring games than what I predicted. Maybe in the Arsenal game, Southampton score and Arsenal scored 2 more. Who knows at this point? But those are my predictions. Gameweek 38 tends to be an entity of its own, where you just get more goals, a bit more excitement in the grand scheme of things. There will be the odd exception, of course, as you mentioned, for the few teams that have something to play for. Which teams will join Arsenal and Liverpool? I think Newcastle. I did go for them to win 2-0 against Everton. I think Man City. The third one is difficult to predict. I've gone for Aston Villa 1-1. I've also gone for Forest and Chelsea to draw. So based on that, that pretty much kind of informs you of my my prediction. So I think it would be Chelsea getting that final Champions League spot, only just. So yeah. Yeah, Man City 3rd, Newcastle 4th. Let's see though, we could get a surprise. Hopefully Forest can beat Chelsea. That'd be nice. Would you get Saka or Bowen? Slight preference for Saka at the moment. He is also a bit of a risk based on the chance of starting. With Bowen, you will not have any such concerns, to be fair. They're both in my top 2 for the captaincy list, which I showed you just a few minutes ago. And I'll play this out very quickly, and I'll highlight your comments later on. Rodgers or Kluivert? Kluivert. Are you selling Isak or Cunha? At the moment, it's more likely I'd sell Cunha. Will Villa get a clean sheet? I've gone for 1-1. So they could. They are quite high up. I think they're 6th in the clean sheet odds, but I think they'll concede. Would you play Raya or Areola? Raya. I just don't think West Ham keep a clean sheet this week. I'm 37k, trying to stay in the top 50k, but also hoping to break into the top 25. Should I captain Saka or go safe with Salah? I prefer Saka, so that's my advice, but it's completely up to you there. Salah is 3rd in my captaincy list, though. He is a solid pick, but his form has been woeful. Best captain for a punt, Evanilson would be up there. Not a bad idea, Jaren. There aren't many teams I'd double up on this week. Newcastle and Arsenal are probably the only 2, but I'm not completely against it. Dean or Collins as the 3rd defender? Luca Dean. Rodgers to either assist or score, since Villa would need the win to qualify for the Champions League? Maybe. Best captaincy pick? Just rewind a few minutes, mate. I literally showed it a few times. Saka is 1st, Bowen 2nd, Salah 3rd. Would you get Saka or Bowen? Covered that, mate. Start Rodgers or Marmoush. Yeah, Marmoush. Hey, Dylan, do you think Spurs are going to be completely hungover from the Europa League party? I think it was Easy who said it earlier. I mean, they could be, but even if they're sober, they are 17th. You know, we're not talking about like a consistent Premier League team this season. They had a great cup run in the Europa. They did fairly well in the Carabao Cup. But yeah, they could be. I mean, could it play a part? Absolutely. I think Brighton could give them a game, but I'm going to go for Spurs 2, Brighton 1. That's my current prediction. Will Strand Larsen play? Well, Vitor Pereira didn't really give much away. My guess is yeah. That could be as a substitute, to be honest, but I'd say Strand Larsen will play. I don't think KDB's benched, but if you see any information, let me know. It is his last game, so that would be a little bit surprising. But yeah, Toby's saying it as well. Yeah, well, KDB is benched apparently, according to Lazy FPL. So we have got a leak. Let me bring that up. So thank you to those that have let me know. But yeah, I do follow them, and I have seen it. Why is this gone to... Let's bring it back to dark mode. Let's see. I'll go back to it now. Bro, where are you? That's crazy, I can't lie. It's not a big deal, but... yeah. Alright, I'm going to bring up the tweet in just a few seconds, and yeah, we'll confirm it. But yeah, De Bruyne is definitely making way for me. That was already my plan, but that just kind of seals the deal. Oh, that's why I went on the wrong one. There you go. Alright, let's bring this up. So, very simple. De Bruyne is benched. He doesn't start. So yeah, I'm going to sell him to one of Bowen or Saka. Maybe I'll just buy both of them at the same time. Thank you, Sydney. Felix Bailey says Saliba to Kivior, Cunha to Evanescence, Rodgers to Bowen for -4. Yes. Now, if you've got De Bruyne, I'd look to sell him. And of course, it goes without saying, he's not in my top 10 Captaincy list anymore. Toby says 29 points ahead of my mini league. Can I do KDB to Saka for -4? Yes. You definitely can. And he might even buy Saka so you can cancel him out if he were to make that transfer. Saxena says I got Vissa, Cunha, Watkins, Saka, Rodgers, Salah and Bumo. Who should I spend free transfers on? Cunha to Evanescence could be a decent transfer. And in the midfield, I'd be tempted by Bowen, but who would you sell? Ideally, Rodgers or your other midfielder you haven't mentioned. Yeah, but the thing is, Arsenal still want to win the game, and it's been a poor season, so might as well end it as strongly as possible and build a decent foundation for next season. And Arteta, it's rare for him to rotate heavily. I'm not saying he won't rotate at all, but do I expect him to like change 5 or 6 players? Not really. Yeah, FPL Tony saying the same. Yeah, that's pretty much confirmed now. Why Bowen over Salah? Better form. Also, Ipswich Town have been very poor recently, and Crystal Palace have been fairly solid in 2025, so I think that's a few decent reasons there. It's a mixture of form and the fixture. Timber and Savio to Kirkes and Martinelli -4. Looks good. I don't think Kirkes will keep a clean sheet, though, so maybe that will change things for you. Havertz could play, but he looked very rusty the other day. I mean, he's been out for several months. That is another one that could be a great punt, but I think it'll be Marino playing up front. And if not Trossard, I think Havertz will be on the bench. Start 1, Marino and Marmoush. Yeah, I think Marino, yeah. Now, between Marino, Trossard and Havertz, I mean, maybe even 2 of them will be benched. The same goes for Martinelli. So they are risky, but I think if you get the right Arsenal attacker who starts, I think that could be a great differential. Start Nico Williams or Konsa. I've gone for 1-1 in both matches, to be honest. I'm going to say Konsa. Only just. Well, triple Gavin for this week. I mean, if you still got the chip, use it. You know, you don't want to basically deny yourself any chance of getting extra points. But yeah, one of Saka, Bowen or Salah are my favourites. Probably in that order as well, which I talked about earlier. Kivior or Kirkes? I'm going to say Kivior. Start Shada. Yeah, I've gone for 2-2 in that game, so having a Brentford attacker is fine. J Braz says, hi Dylan, hope you are okay. I have Henderson, Areola, Livramento. 1 free transfer, -4. What do I do to boost my rank? Well, I'm not a big fan of Henderson. But would I change him when you've probably got other things to do? Yeah, probably not. So it's a difficult one, I think. But I would try to buy one of Saka or Salah in the midfield. So, for example, could you do something like Haaland? Selling him is risky, I know, but Haaland to Ivanosen, and then upgrading Eze to Saka, and then you could also do Shada to Salah. I think you could actually do that. That could be ultra aggressive, but your defense is fine, I think. You don't need to make a change there. You could start Areola over Henderson as well, even though I don't think West Ham keep a clean sheet. I'd probably do that. So yeah, I'd focus your transfers on the midfield and potentially forward line. If you're doing KDB to Saka, who would you move for Bowen? Probably Rodgers in that case, and yeah, I would do it for a -4. Ivanosen or Welbeck? Ivanosen. Start Gvardiol or Milenkovic? Gvardiol. Waiseng says Timber, Gay, Savio, Sarr, Isak. Priority sell. In my opinion, Sarr would be up there. Yeah, Sarr and Timber priority sells. What's your take on Cher versus Livramento? I prefer Cher. Lower ownership. Better chance of scoring goals. Higher ceiling. Yeah, it's going to be Cher for me. Afternoon, Dylan, for the last time this season. Yes, in FPL. There is still one more for UCL Fantasy for those that play that. So next Saturday, stay tuned. I will be going live for Matchday 17. And there'll be 2 videos headed your way for the best team and my team selection. And if you want to see Club World Cup Fantasy content, let me know. I may not be able to go full on like I usually do because, like I said, June is a very busy month. But I will try to do it if people want to see it. It will be quite fun to cover something a little bit different. Louis Gerard says, hi mate, need some help. Would you do Wood and Rodgers to Ivanosen and Diaz for a -4? I'm going to say no. Good question though. Freddie Barker says, I'm on a free hit. I need to gain 28 points. Should I go differential captain than Salah? Well, Salah's third in my list. I think Bowen and Saka are better. So I'd captain one of those players for sure. Arsenal team news? Unfortunately, no. We just know that Saliba and Timber are out. But that's nothing new there. I think Isak will start, but we don't have any concrete information. Difficult to say, but I think Cunha will play decent minutes. But after the last 2 game weeks, he has been a complete flop. Adil says this may be my last season of FPL for many reasons, but the main one being that it ruins the way I watch the Premier League now. Instead of watching as a fan, I end up caring more about if my players return in FPL. I get that. It can make you emotionally invested in teams or players that otherwise you wouldn't care about. I mean, that's kind of the point of it. It's a way of promoting the Premier League and keeping you interested. You know, if it wasn't for the FPL, I'll be honest, I would have completely switched off and not watched anything. Maybe Arsenal, but yeah. In terms of the others doing research and, you know, identifying the best assets, no chance, mate. But yeah, everyone's different, and you've got the summer to reflect and, you know, decide if you want to continue next season. But maybe after a break, you'll feel recharged and change your mind. If you don't own Salah, who is the best captain? I don't think he's the best captain anyway, but Saka or Bowen? Rodgers or Murphy to Bowen for a -4? I mean, I've currently got Rodgers on my bench, which could be a mistake, but yeah, I'm having second thoughts about that one. I think selling Murphy is probably ideal, especially if Newcastle play a back 3 and Murphy's a win back again. I think Saka will play, but it's not guaranteed. Larkin says Isak and Sarr to Bowen and Ivanosen for a -4. I'm very tempted to say yes, but Isak will start, it looks like. And I can't guarantee you that, but I'm going to say yes to your transfers. A bit uneasy about it, though, but yeah. Martinelli for KDB for a -4 is okay, then. It's also risky. I mean, one of Martinelli or Trossard, I think, will be benched, if not Marino. Then you've also got Havertz in the mix as well. So, until we know for sure who starts for Arsenal, it is a gamble, in my opinion. I would start Marmoush there, Abdullah. OK says, hi Dylan, I'm top of my mini league with 28-point difference. He has a system manager left. Do I defend and buy players he has or go for different ones? Well, you're top by 28 points. I think you just got to continue with your game, not overthink it, because if you change the way you play, I know it's only one game week, but yeah, you don't want to do things you regret. I think if you just do something you really believe in terms of optimizing your points and, you know, you're captaining the player you think will score the most and stuff like that and bringing a player you're really bullish on, you know, I think that is the most important thing. Back your decision-making process and don't change things just because, you know, you're trying to see out a mini-league. I get what you're saying, though, because it is logical to cancel out players and kind of prevent him from finding differentials on you that could make the difference. But I think the best thing to do is keep playing your game. So, yeah. If you are feeling a differential, go for it. I'm not saying you have to go completely differential for the sake of it, but yeah, just keep playing your game, and you don't just need to defend. In my opinion, Declan is Ange Postecoglou. I think they'll beat Brighton 2-1. You could argue they're going to be hungover, whatever it may be. They're 17th in the league, but they are winless in, 4 or 5 Premier League games? I think they'll want to end strongly and also kind of build upon the success and foundations of the Europa League win. Weiseng says to who? 0.7 million in the bank. 1 transfer, -4. I don't remember what you said earlier. I can't lie. There's a lot of different questions. Timber, Gay, Savio, Sarr, Isak, probably Sarr. Okay, so yeah, I would say Sarr to. How do we make this work? Because you could do something like Timber to, let's see, Kivior, Livramento. Could that work? Nah, but you're still not going to have enough for Bowen, are you? In that case, you might need to sell Savio, but assuming Sarr's on your bench, I would sell Savio to Bowen and then do something like Timber to Kivior or Livramento. Hopefully that works for you. Maybe it doesn't, to be fair. Well, it's a terrible rank. It's my worst by far ever. And last season wasn't great either. Just to finish as high as possible, get a green arrow and make it less embarrassing, I guess, or a bit more respectable. I don't think Trippier's out, no. But we don't have any confirmation either way. Isak is 4th in my captaincy list, just behind Salah. My top 2 are Saka and Bowen, but he's close. Bench 2, I would start Livramento. Start Eze or Rodgers? Rodgers. Start Sharda or Rodgers? I'm going to say Rodgers here. Kenback says have 2 free transfers, 5-point mini-league lead. Can do KDB / Ismail Assar to Saka / Bowen, or KDB Wood to Saka Isak. Second in my mini-league has Isak and Bowen. Well, KDB is benched, mate. By the way, I've been on this screen for very long. But yeah, for those that aren't aware, De Bruyne doesn't start, sell him. Make sure to do that before the deadline. Ideally, I'd sell both of them for Saka and Bowen. If you can make that work, that is great. I'm not sure that will be the case, though. Aranya says, not sure if you've already answered. Yeah, I have. I'm not going to lie, mate. I've answered it twice. Yeah, Raya and Share. Hi, Dylan. I've got Sells, Kepa, Milenkovic, Munoz, Gavardio, Livramento, Aitnuri, Salah, Mbumo, Murphy, Bowen. Jesus, my chat is bugging out. Let's see if I can get it up. Clive, Wood, Isak, Vardy, 1 free transfer, triple captain. What's your advice? Yeah, Vardy to Evanescence looks really solid. If you've got the funds, I will triple captain Bowen. Salah will be next in line, I think, from your team. So if you're not really able to get Saka without taking hits or changing a lot of things, I just stick with Vardy to Evanescence. I already have Rodgers and Evanescence. I transfer Ramesh to Watkins or Marino to Cliver. Not sure about either, to be honest. I think Marmoush is better than Watkins this week. And Marino Cliver is quite similar as well. So apparently we do have another leak. Let's see if I can get this up. I'm going to double check it first. And if it's reliable, I might even show it on screen as well. So let's get that up. So apparently Gvardiol starts. Yeah, I'm not sure how reliable that page is, but yeah. I have seen them get things right before, but I'm not sure if they've maybe gotten a few things incorrect. Yeah. I would expect Gvardiol to start anyway. I'm more concerned about Isak. That's the big one for me, because that really changes everything. Selling him to Vanderson would really open up the funds in the midfield. But it looks like Isak will start. Yeah, not sure about the sources though about Isak. Alright, so if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and share. This is the last deadline stream for FPL this season. There could be a reaction stream after all the games have concluded. But then after that, it pretty much concludes all FPL content for the campaign. And then the focus goes to UCL Fantasy. And then after that, potentially, Club World Cup Fantasy if people want to see it. Got Vardy, Isak, and KDB, hoping he starts. So then planning on doing Vardy to Evanescent and KDB to Saka for -4. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, I think in your situation, that is the ideal scenario. In my case, I'm kind of hoping Isak doesn't start. Which two to bench? Sharda, Diaz, Evanescent, or Watkins? I would bench... Oh, that's difficult. I'd definitely start Evanescent. And the other one I'd start is... I'm going to say Sharda. Yeah. KDB for who? Saka or Bowen? I prefer Saka a little bit more. Having said that, he's a little bit more of a risk, so take that with a pinch of salt. With Bowen, you know he's going to start for sure. Timber and Savio to Kirk is a Martinelli -4. Best move already? Possibly. But I'll be honest, I think Kivior or Cher are better than Kirkers this week. Trossard / Saka or Kivior for -4 on bench boost? Saka. Do you think Cunha will start? I think he does, but the last two games have really hurt my confidence with Cunha. Welcome, Twisted Parky. I've got Isak and Evanescent starting as 2 forwards. I have Salah, Bowen, Mbeumo, Rogers, Gibbs-White in the midfield, Vissa, Welbeck. Okay, you know, the message got deleted, but will be on my bench boost. What do you recommend there? Yeah, I think that's fairly decent, to be honest, but maybe Gibbs-White could be upgraded on. Maybe even Rogers. It's just I don't think you will have the means to get to Saka anyway. But another Arsenal attacker could be decent. But yeah, if you did spam the chat, try not to. Otherwise, you will be timed out, as you were just now. Rice captain. No, not for me. I wouldn't captain Declan Rice this week. Hey Dylan, I was planning to do Marmush to Evanescent, but now he's starting. Should I still do it anyway? I prefer Evanescent, but I have said throughout the week I'd keep Marmush if you still have him. Differentials needed. Need to sell KDB and Eze for a -4 to finish strong. Who do I buy if I have Bowen, Salah, and Mbeumo? Well, my favourite is Saka, but if you don't have the funds, well, I think you should. You probably should, but if you either don't have the funds or you really want to go proper differential, then you might want to go for Marino / Martinelli or Trossard, but one of them will be benched. I don't think all of them will start at the same time. But yeah, I'm going to say Saka. And to replace Eze, oof, you could go to Kluivert, to be fair. Not the biggest of differentials, but the effective ownership, I think, will be fairly low. Rogers or Cunha? Cunha. Sell Savio and Cunha for Evanescent and Diaz / Martinelli Semenyo? Yeah, I think so. My favourite midfielder there is probably Martinelli, assuming he starts. Ken Back says, yeah, I have enough in the bank to do KDB, Sata, Saka, Bowen. The concern is Isak. Yeah, I think I'd still buy Saka and Bowen, to be honest. I wish I could just buy both of them without selling my forwards, especially Isak. Would you replace Saliba for a hit or just start Gvardiol, Diaz, and Konsa? I think I'd just start those defenders, yeah. Great content this year, Dylan. Holding for Isak news, same here. That is pretty much what I'm doing, and thank you very much for the kind words. My favourite captain is Saka. Bowen is a very close second, and Salah's third. Yeah, Kudus differential. Very poor season, but he did score in Gameweek 38 last time out, and he's got that ability to get a massive return. I think Kluivert will play, but his minutes have been very poor recently. Subbed off at half-time against City. Not a good look. Jaren says, like, share, subscribe. Please answer my defensive question above. There's a lot of questions here. I don't see where your message is, I can't lie. I literally don't see it. Do you think Areola starts? Oh yeah, that is true. I forgot to mention this. I mean, Fabianski will play his last game for West Ham. Didn't do it in Gameweek 37. He was quite surprised by that. I think, yeah, Fabianski will start, to be fair. That could be a problem for those with, let's say, Areola and Henderson or Pickford. But not sure if it's worth a goalkeeper transfer. No leaks about Saka at the moment. So yeah, apparently Isak does start. It's the same source there. I'm not sure how reliable they are. But yeah, we'll see. A lot of different pages are saying Isak starts. I would rather have a reliable one say it, but there we go. Yeah, Marmush starts as well, which was mentioned by some people in the chat by FPL newsletter. That is a reliable source, so you can definitely back them on that one. So yeah, Marmush starts, De Bruyne doesn't. And let's see if we get any other leaks or team news before the deadline. Do you think Howson starts? Yes. He did the last game, and I think he will again. Okay, what about Cunha and Sarr to Bone and Evanescence for a -4? Yeah, I'd take the hit. Power says, should I take a -4 to get an Arsenal defender? Depends who you're selling, but most likely I'm going to say no. Khalid says, bought Salah and Evanescence, sold Palmer and Mateta for a -4. Still got KDB. Should I sell him for a -8? 0.6 in the bank. Can't afford Saka. Yeah, I would. And you could go to Bowen if you don't have him already. Patra says bench 1, Cucurella, Milenkovic, Williams. I would bench Cucurella. Repost, current defenses, Kirkes, Gavardio, Burney, Nuri. Would you go Botman or Konsa? Botman. I think Newcastle are the best chance for a clean sheet. Would you swap out any of the defenders or take out Ahmad? To be fair though, I think starting Kirkes, Gavardio and Burn is fine. You don't need to make a defender transfer, so instead I'd rather sell Ahmad. Anna says, I'm chasing a 26-point lead. I have 2 free transfers. I can bring Evanescence and a midfielder, I'm guessing that is, and bench Rodgers. Do you think Salah is a safe option or bring Gibbs White? Salah is a safe option despite his poor form. I think he will return against Crystal Palace. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily buy Gibbs White in my opinion. As a Liverpool fan, I've got a Captain Salah final Gameweek at home versus Palace with records to break and a trophy to lift. Yeah, but his recent form has been so bad, and I think the assist record might be cursed itself. Whenever someone looks like they're going to break it, they don't, and I hope Salah doesn't, to be honest. Especially if I don't captain him. Should I transfer in Kivior, Share, or Kirkes? Yeah, from those 3, I think my favourite's Share, to be honest. Wan-Bissaka captain, no chance. I don't even think he's worth starting in a lot of cases. Bakugot though, I'm just going to say no for me. Hi Dylan, who to captain, Salah or Bowen? Bowen. Glimpse of chasing, or just Glimpse of says, chasing 32 points, 1 transfer, Saliba to White or Mateta to Welbeck. I think Mateta to Welbeck has the highest ceiling. Trossard in for Murphy for free. I like the move, but Trossard may not start. That's the only problem with it. I think Isak will start Duarte, but there is no official source or reliable one that's confirming it right now. Replacement of AWB, except any Arsenal defender, since I already have Saka, Martinelli, and Raya. Also have Kirkes and Share. You could go for a second Newcastle defender like Livramento. Or, yeah, not a big fan of most defenders this week. Gavardio, Konsa, probably Gavardio, if you just don't go for that double up in the Newcastle defence. Well, if you want to go differential and sell KDB, then an Arsenal midfielder like Marino, Martinelli, that could really work for you. Start Konsa or Gavardio. Gavardio. Hidiat says Munoz to White. Yeah, looks good. KDB to Saka or Bowen. Slight preference for Saka, but only just. I might end up buying both of them. My record with Saka this season has been poor. Whenever I buy him, he's terrible. When I don't have him, he's amazing. So I might have to give him a pass. Reece McGowan, or McGowan, whatever, I can't even speak. Play Rodgers or sell Vardy for -4 to get Evanilson, then bench Rodgers. Yeah, I'd sell Vardy for a hit and get Evanilson, I think. Rodgers isn't really that bad, though, so it's a close one. Thank you, 88 Spesh. Any ideas on assistant manager choices? So throughout the stream, I've been saying Ange Postecoglou is my favourite for Gameweek 38. I think Spurs will get a result against Brighton. That means table bonus because Spurs are 17th. And yeah, I think if they get that result, especially a win, that's a massive return and ceiling there for the final Gameweek of the season. Raya, Gvardiol, Virgil, Burn, Murphy, Rodgers, KDB and Bumo, Isak, Haaland, Visser, bench for Bruggen, Munoz, Sarr, Saliba, Trossard, Diaz or Diaz Bowen. Can't you think of any other good differentials? Well, yeah, I mean, some players might have like 10, 15% ownership, but their EO will be quite low. I think Kluivert could be one example, I think. Yeah, I think Marino's a good one. I think Diaz is good. Not really a differential, but a bit overlooked this week. Anthony Gordon against Everton. Yeah. Let's see who else we can pick. Sharda. I like Sharda. So those are a few there for you. Cunha and KDB replacements. Evanilson and Saka/Bowen. Welcome Baraf. Khalid. Did I cover this before? Yeah, I did cover this before, mate. I did. Appreciate Dylan. The guy in first and third have the combo of Mbumo Visser. I've got one free transfer. If I do Morgan Gibbs White to Saka, I have to downgrade from Isak as I'm 0.8 million over budget, or downgrade on Vardy, who is going to be on my bench. Yeah, so -4 hit. Not particularly ideal. Well, if you don't have Bowen, then just go to Bowen instead of Saka. That would be my advice, but I don't remember if you said you had Bowen before already. My guess is you probably do, but let me know. Already 800,000 have transferred out Isak. He's still got really high ownership, but it has gone down significantly. I prefer White over Kivior for the attacking threat, but ultimately, yeah, I personally think they'll both do quite similarly this week. It's just about bonus points, who gets them. Dylan, thank you so much for the advice throughout the season. You've been of great help with your stats. Appreciate. Thank you very much, Wolverine, and all the best for Gameweek 38. Diaz or Mbumo for KDB. I prefer Mbumo still. Sell KDB, no money for Saka. Buy Bowen or one differential pick. Bowen. Cylindra says, with KDB not starting, is it worth buying Saka or Bowen? Yes, it is worth buying, yeah. It's up to you how you want to go about it, but I like Saka. Dylan, if Isak isn't starting, I need to sell him. Let me see if I can get this up. Vardy and KDB for a -8. Thinking Saka, Evanilson, and then I'll have 10.6 million for a forward. Watkins, Cunha, Welbeck. Yeah, it's just I don't think Havertz starts, but if we got news that he does, I think that'd be worth a punt. Anyone playing up front for Arsenal this week would be very enticing. My favourite, apart from Visser, is going to be Welbeck from the players you've mentioned this week. Yeah, fair enough. Just not sure if it's worth selling Isak. I think it's probably just sell Vardy in that case, or you go for a secondary Arsenal attacker. Salah or Saka for the captain? Saka for me. Well, mister, I just think with any Arsenal attacker, even Saka to some extent, there is a slight concern there in terms of the minutes. Now, Trossard has started a lot of Premier League games recently, but yeah, I just think with Marino back from suspension, and remember, in the game against Liverpool when Trossard started, Marino played in the midfield because Rice was injured. But now that Rice is available, and assuming he does start again, you'd probably back Marino to start up front. So then it's Trossard or Martinelli on the left. So that's why I'm a bit more concerned about him starting this week. But if I knew for sure he was, I think Trossard is right up there this week, and he'd be in my top 10 captaincy list very easily. Yeah, I did cover that, mate. Glimpse of, and yeah, I think I did cover this, but Mateta to Evanilson, KDB to an Arsenal attacker. Saliba to, I'd say, share. If not, you can go to another Arsenal defender. Really depends. Is it prudent to go aggressive on -8? Cunha, Evanes, and KDB to Saka. Oh, so Cunha to Evanes and KDB to Saka. Sata Bowen. Yeah, I think it's worth it, to be fair. And KDB's benched. First season as an FPL manager and at rank 1.5 million good. Yeah, look, it's all about, you know, enjoying the game, finding your kind of play style. You might be more aggressive, maybe a bit more conservative, and you'll get things, I think, a little bit. You'll get better over time in terms of timing. You need a lot of luck in this game. There is an element of skill. If you consistently finish in a certain rank, that does show that you do have some skill and you make some good decisions, but ultimately you need luck to go your way in order to really finish in the top ranks and yeah, just be really happy with where you are. But I think 1.5 million is a good start and a very good foundation for next season. TNT showing Manu versus Villa. Poor Manu. They do love showing Man United, to be fair. What about Chris Wood? Solid option. Not on my top 10 captaincy list, but still decent. Yeah, KDB's not starting. That's according to FPL newsletter. Marmoush is starting. That's the only two real confirmed bits of news I can really provide at the moment. It looks like Isak starts as well. So there is that too. So what I'm going to do here is put some polls out and start locking in my transfers, because otherwise I'm never going to make them. So we've got under half an hour left until the deadline. Make sure to lock in your teams. So let's see if I can do this quickly. No, I wouldn't be able to do that, would I? So let's see, Saliba. And let's see, probably Rodgers. It could be Murphy. Doesn't really matter. Okay, should be with you in a second. Let's see if I can get this done. Okay. All right, so Saliba and Rodgers to, I'm going to say Kivior. Yeah, Kivior and Bowen. Let's actually show it on stream as well, so you can also follow along. So yeah, it could be Murphy as well. I think I've got enough funds for that. So yeah, Bowen in for Murphy, and then maybe I've underestimated that. No, that's not true. Yeah, it'd be De Bruyne. Yeah, De Bruyne out. So De Bruyne out for Bowen, and then I can just get any defender I want, but I could just sell Saliba. Could go to White, Calafiori. Yeah, I mean, I think I just go to Kivior. Yeah, let's do that. Kivior, Saliba, and De Bruyne to Bowen and Kivior. All right, let's see. All right, and this one is going to be. Let's see if I can make this work. Yeah, I don't have any definitive updates on Isak, but it looks like a lot of sources indicate he starts, but I'm not sure how reliable they are, so that's all I can really say. You gotta make a judgment there and just hope that he does start if you keep him, or that he doesn't if you sell. So let's make this quickly. Rodgers. So yeah, let's see if I can make this work as well. Saka. And let's keep Saliba here. And then Isak to Evanesson. Oof. Yeah. So actually would have to sell Rodgers and keep Murphy. Yeah, there is a difference there of... What is it? 0.6? Yeah, 0.6. All right. So let's see what you lot think about these transfers. So this would be Rodgers, KDB, and Cunha. No, and Isak to... Let's see if I can get this. Saka. It's so annoying that the character limit is so annoying. Isak is at the game, says Gary. Okay, well, there you go. It's just a shame. I actually wish he didn't start. I'm not going to lie. Bowen, Saka, Van Anderson. How do I make that fit? That is annoying as hell. Rodgers, KDB, Isak. How the hell do I fit that into the character limit? You absolute plonker. Difficult. I think Semenyo is showing better form, but I'm going to say Kluivert still. Yeah, I just covered that, and I don't really trust the sources, but yeah, it looks like he is starting. I just don't know how reliable those sources are, so I'm not going to say it with conviction. It's so annoying. I'm going to probably just do Son of Eva. Son of Eva. No, that's still not going to be enough. Yeah, my favorite is going to be Saka. Bowen is second. Son Romero not playing, apparently. Yeah, doesn't really make much difference. They are 17th after all. No offense. Rodgers, could it be a set? Yeah, I can't fit this in. So annoying. YouTube. One day you'll change, right? Rodgers either assist or score today. Hopefully not if I bench or sell him. But yeah. I actually don't know how. It's impossible for me to fit it. Let's see if I can do something a bit. Let's see. Maybe this can work. Yeah, it does. The first option would be a -4 hit. Would be for a -4 hit. There you go. So I think that's what really my season comes down to. Selling Saliba and KDB to Kiwior and Bowen, or doing Rodgers, KDB, and Isak to Bowen, Saka, Ivanosen. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. All right, I'm going to post that. Let me know what you think. No Arsenal team news, unfortunately. Not from what I'm aware. I'll have a quick look on Twitter again and see if there's something, but can't really guarantee it. Yeah. Anything else from FPL newsletter? They've already given a lot with the De Bruyne news. Yeah, and Mamrush starting as well, which I covered as well. Yeah, nope. Nothing else. So there you go. So thank you to those that have liked the video. Let's get this to as many likes as possible. 150 by the end of the deadline stream. Yeah, I know, Jaren. I know you have Burn. That's why I said I'd start Burn. I think you had Gvardio and somebody else. I'd just start those three and focus on, I think you said, was it Ahmad? I think it was, but thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not going to say that for now. Kluivert or Semenyo? Yeah, slight preference for Kluivert, but his minutes have been terrible recently. Can't get Bowen for free, so Saliba and Sarter, Bowen and Kiwior for -4 worth it? Yes, it is worth it. Bradley or Gvardio to start? Gvardio and mid under 7 million. It's going to be, I think, Marino, Martinelli, or Trossard. I mean, difficult to say which one's going to start for sure. But yeah, those are my favourites. Then you're looking at Kluivert. Munoz to White or Sarter, Trossard / Martinelli. Well, it really depends, Finley. Are you starting Munoz and Star? Do you have an alternative like Rodgers? That does play a big part in what you should do with your transfer. But in terms of the high ceiling, it would be selling Sarr to one of Trossard or Martinelli. Why sell KDB? He's benched Petros, according to a reliable source. Thanks, Dylan, for your streams this season. Helped me a lot. I appreciate it, and also glad to hear that. Vista to Welbeck, or move Saliba to Share / Arsenal defender? I'd move Saliba. 8 Nuri KDB for Dan Burn and Saka. Yeah, looks good. Now, my favourite Newcastle defender is Cher. If you can't afford him, I think one of Burn or Livramento is fine. Bowen or Saka for Palmer? I prefer Saka. He is first on my captaincy list. Bowen is second. Maybe I'm overstating Saka's chance of starting. Maybe he doesn't. But I think he does, and that's why he is number one in my list. What do you think, Dylan? Yeah, solid. Shot is a nice differential this week. Bowen captain is right up there. You've got Salah. Solid platform. No real weakness, in my opinion. Not a big fan of Watkins this week, but I wouldn't sell him. I just wouldn't buy him in Gameweek 38, I think. Raya or Martinez? Raya. Best midfielder to buy? I have Mbumo, Murphy, Salah, Rogers, Bowen. Yeah, it's going to be Bowen or Saka. Just depends on your budget and who your other midfielder is. So just don't really know there. What do you think about the summer transfer window? I would like to disconnect because there's going to be a lot of rumours. Arsenal are always linked to people, and I'd rather just switch off. Start Marmoush or Semenyo? I'd start Marmoush. On bench boost, how many hits are acceptable? Depends on the quality of your 50-man squad on the bench, but I'd say a -4, maybe a -8 is probably enough. You don't need to go overkill. It's an overrated chip, in my opinion. -4 to bring in Bowen for Salah? No. Wood or Rogers? Chris Wood. Ruminik says, hi Dylan, I have one free transfer, Saka for KDB or Ivanosen for Vardy. Well, Vardy isn't going to play at all, and KDB is benched. I'd do both of them, if you can, but if you really just want to do one, I'm going to say Saka for KDB. Who is for the best triple captain, Salah or Bowen? I prefer Bowen. Yeah, there aren't many forwards left for me in my league, so I'm contemplating getting rid of Ahmad for Botman, so that's why it's either him or Nuri out. Oh, that's for a FPL draft, right? Fair enough. Best AM this week, please. I said this multiple times, Aaron. Ange Postecoglou. Is Ivanosen starting? He should do, yeah. Is Isak definitely starting or just rumours? They are basically just rumours. A lot of different sources, but I can't really guarantee that any of them are reliable. So that's why I say take it with a pinch of salt. Bench Wood or Rogers. As mentioned before, I would bench Rogers here. I have one forward or one free transfer using it to get Saka for KDB. Makes sense. KDB is benched after all. Duarte says who to sell KDB for. So no Saka or Bowen. I take a punt on Arsenal midfielder, but it's all about getting the right one who starts. I think Marino will. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But Marino, Martinelli, Trossard would stand out. I also think... I mean, Fernandes is overlooked this week. I think Villa are massive favourites to win, but I think he could do fairly well, as mentioned by Jamie earlier. Yeah, there aren't many standouts, I think, but there are a lot of decent options. If you want a massive differential, I'd actually like the look of Shada this week, to be fair. Best defender to get, I've got Bradley, Gavardio, Consuminho, Saliba, one free transfer. I would replace Saliba with one of Kirkes or an Arsenal defender. My preference is the Arsenal defender here. I think Cunha starts, but I can't guarantee it. So at the moment, the -4 hit option is leading the poll with 58%. But yeah, it does mean selling Isak, unfortunately. Bench 1, Minter, Rogers, Watkins. I would bench Minter, which could be a mistake, but I'm going to bench him. I'm also going to have a look and see if I can get any other team news for you. So right now, the only confirmed things, or from a reliable source, is that Marmoush starts and KDB is benched in his final Man City game. So let's check one predicted Arsenal lineup and see what they've gone for. So they have actually gone for Raya, White, Kivior, Calafiori, Lewis Skelly, Odegaard, Partey, Marino, Saka, Trossard, Martinelli. I think that's a fairly decent prediction. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Trossard down the middle, Marino midfield. Rice gets a little break. Yeah, that's reasonable, but just a prediction. You can't really base too much off that. All right, well, Let's see if Trossard does start. Anything else? Isak is obviously going to be the big one. Yeah, there is a video of Isak at the ground, so he has travelled. Yeah. All right, we do have a super chat in the building. Let's cover that first. So thank you to Michael Donnelly. Thanks for the season, Dylan. Great times. Thank you very much. If you've got any question or comment, let me know. But I do appreciate it. And big up to all the super chatters, patrons, and channel members, the subscribers as well. We hit 33,000 a couple of weeks ago. And by the end of this calendar year, an ambitious target will be 40,000. But thank you very much, Michael. Triple captain Salah or Bowen? I prefer Bowen there. I'm not sure you taking a hit is a good idea. So often backfires. Yeah, the -8 a few weeks ago was ultra aggressive. I get that, but it was also a bit unfortunate, I think, for two of those players to be booked for Cooney to be sold off for 60 minutes, and at that time he wasn't, having, problems with the minutes. So yeah, it does happen, but I think in the past I've done well with hits, just not this season. Is Watkins better to buy than Evanilson? No, not for me. I'm not a big fan of Watkins this week. He's never scored against United in the Premier League. Is Evanilson the best forward this week? I think he is. I think he's actually arguably better than Visser, on paper anyway. Bench boost active, says Crotterman. KDB, Timber to Saka, Bowen, and Livramento worth it? Yes, I think it is. I'm also going to sort out my family members' team, if I can do that somewhat quickly. But, yeah. So I think now that is pretty much set in stone. So that would be Ismail Assar for Bowen, 1 free transfer. Keep it simple. Yeah. Looks decent. Make sure to start Bowen, otherwise that would be a big mistake. Ooh. Yeah, probably bench him. Alright, well, I think that team is pretty much sorted. Okay. KDB to Saka. It's a kind of simple move, isn't it? I think Saka will start. Yeah, but maybe Marino starts in the midfield and gives Declan Rice a break once more. White leaning towards White. Kivio over White. Slightly better for bonus points. I also think White hasn't been at his best, but he definitely offers more attacking threat than White. There's no question about that. And also Calafiori has a finish on him. Martinelli, Cliver, Gruder, pick 1. Martinelli. Yeah, on the 50 minutes till we can all rest is a good way of summing it up. I mean, I'm still doing UCL Fantasy, so there is still that for me. And there could be a reaction stream tonight, and hopefully we end this season on a high. Hi, Dylan. I'm 25 points ahead. Is Rodgers to Bone for a -4 worth it? I think it is. I have no Arsenal team news to provide. I literally checked 5 minutes ago, and I saw nothing, just the predicted lineup. Marmush to Evanilson for a -4. Not for a hit, no. No news on those 3 players there, Durgish, no. KDB to Saka or Isak to Welbeck. KDB to Saka. Isak could start. No, Néstor, no hay noticias. Hay muchas páginas en Twitter que dicen que va a empezar el partido. Y hay un video que muestra Isak en la cancha. Yo creo que va a empezar el partido, pero no puedo garantizarlo. Digo la verdad. Watkins to Marmush for a -4. No, not for me. Hey Dylan, how are you doing? Bench 1, Rodgers, Visser, Wood, Isak. Probably Rodgers. Start 1, KDB or Rodgers. KDB's benched, so I'd start Rodgers. Bench Watkins for Evanilson. I'd start Evanilson over him, yeah. But who are your other midfielders and forwards? Michael Davis says Saka, Matoma, Burn, and Evanilson for a -4. I wouldn't buy Matoma. The others are fine, not Matoma. Hey Dylan, Bowen and Isak, or Saka and Evanilson? Oh, that is difficult. If Isak starts, I might lean towards that Bowen and Isak duo, but it's very close. Watkins or Wood? Chris Wood. Yeah, KDB is benched. That's been covered before. Marmush also starts. That's the only 2 bits of news or information that have come from a reliable source. The rest are just stuff you can't really trust, I think. Once more, I don't have anything on Cunha. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Best born facet to take on Leicester, Ivanosen for me. FPL Elmer says thoughts on Vardy to Ivanosen and Savio to Saka for -4. Great transfers. I'd have no problems with that at all. Rodgers or Murphy? I was looking to start Murphy originally, but yeah, I think Rodgers might be slightly better, to be honest. I would keep Isak at the moment. And best Libre replacements, an Arsenal defender like Kivior, Calafiori or White, Share. If not, you're looking at Kirkes. That's kind of the order of the best defenders. Saka for me, Paulo Dybala, Haaland to Ivanosen for a -4. Not for a hit, no. Iraola or Arteta? Arteta. Locked in with KDB to Saka. Looks good. Bench Shada or Rodgers? I'd bench Rodgers here. Start Murphy or Rodgers. I originally started Murphy. I might change that to Rodgers, but with my transfers, that could ultimately end up being Rodgers on the bench. Or Murphy on the bench, Rodgers sold, but that's just a money perspective sort of thing. Isak or Barnes? Isak. I prefer Saka over Bowen, mate. You don't need to ask the same question twice. Omar says, thoughts on Watkins' captaincy? Not a big fan. He has never scored against United, so no. Also, my first sub is Murphy. Should I trust Isak plays or just get Ivanosen? I think Isak will play, but we have no reliable sources there. Yeah, Son and Romero out. Doesn't really make a difference anyway. I think Brighton would still fancy their chances, but I'm backing Spurs to win there. EH Photo Booth says, it's Jaren, no cash on the other YouTube. Rank points this week, Elliot, Ahmad, Nouri, and Botman. Thanks. Thank you for the super chat, mate. And yeah, didn't know you had a second account. Yeah, Elliot, Ahmad, Nouri, and Botman. I'm going to go for Botman and I think Harvey Elliott. Not a big fan of those, to be honest, except for Botman. Thank you, Néstor. Gracias, Dylan. Nuevamente excelente temporada. Muchas gracias, Néstor. Y buena suerte para la jornada 38. Yeah, Diaz starts apparently. Not sure what the source is, but there we go. Start Eze or Beto. Eze. Rodgers or Bowen? Bowen. That is a quite clear one, I think. So, time to lock in my bloody team. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. So, yeah. Can't get Bowen for free, so it's Saliba and Sata Bowen and Kivior -4 worth it. You said that before. I said yes. Pretty much nothing more to add there. So, Ivanosen in for Isak. Not a big fan of that, to be honest. That could definitely backfire. I'm going to double check Isak's record against Everton again. Let's see. But I do think he will start based on everything we've seen today. Going to double check and see if there's any confirmed news here on Alexander Isak. But I don't think we will. Not from a reliable source, unfortunately. But yeah, Trippier and Isak both arrived at the stadium. So Isak's record against Everton. Only 1 goal in 3 games. He did technically get that brilliant assist at Goodison Park a few years ago. Yeah, I think that was in the 2022-23 season. As a substitute, wasn't it? Yeah, but only 1 goal in 3 games. Can't really judge too much on that. I think he will score. I'm just so tempted to get Bowen and Saka. I could just see Isak punishing me, but I'm probably going to do it. Yeah, so it looks like Isak does start. Yeah, great. Ross got me 0 points, 0 last week, so all 20 will have to come today. Have a great summer. Likewise, Keith. Yeah, unfortunately, just Southampton have kind of let you down because previously they were doing a bit better. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing. Let's see if I can get this up as well. So, yeah, they have posted, just a picture of Isak. But, yeah, it doesn't mean he will start, but I'm very confident he will now. That doesn't actually change. It kind of does, but it doesn't prevent me from possibly selling him to fund other moves in the midfield, to be fair. I would start Clive this week there, Fionki. and I would start Chris Woodchase. Eze, Palmer to Salah, Diaz -8, worth it? Yes, just about, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of a -8. Who's your captain? It's going to be Bowen or Saka, depending on my final transfers. If I have both of them, it will be Saka. So, yeah, unfortunately I'm getting lag spikes at the moment. Not sure why, but there you go. It is the last stream. At least for FPL, deadline stream. Cheers, bro, for all the advice. Best of luck today. Likewise, mate. Isak to Evanilson -4. I'd only do that if you're buying Saka and Bowen in the midfield. Otherwise, I'd just keep Isak. I think he starts. Start Cunha or Elanga. Cunha. Start Mazraoui or Colwill. Colwill. I don't think either keep a clean sheet. Start Murphy or Evanilson for a -4. Evanilson -4. I want to start Marino over Marmoush. Yeah, I get that. It's just Marino could play in the midfield, to be honest. I want to pick 3 Arsenal defenders. Is it okay? Well, you can't do that. You can only have 3 players from a single club, so you can't triple up on the defense and have Marino. But I think double defense is fine. Then go for an attacker like Saka or Trossard, depending on who you back to start. First bench, Sarr or Konate. I'd put Sarr. Bench 1 in Mbeumo, Wissa, Isak, Palmer. I would bench Palmer, which I don't like the look of, but there you go. We literally got 4 minutes left. I've got to lock in my team before I forget. So this is last chance saloon. So let me actually open up this as well. Let's bring up transfers. So I'm going to have both of them ready, just in case. So in this scenario, I would sell Saliba, go to Kivior, and that would mean benching Milenkovic. And also, I could then do, was it Rodgers? No, De Bruyne to Bowen. Or Saka, to be fair. I could still buy Saka, but it means no Bowen. I really want Bowen this week. So yeah, in this case, I'd probably start Saka. Let's actually change this quickly as well. Rodgers in for Murphy. I'll probably regret this, like I regret any late decision I make this season. But there you go. Yeah. Let's go back to this. So yeah, let me know what you prefer. It's obviously, there's a poll in the live chat. So essentially it comes down to a -4, buying Evanilson for Isak, which funds Bowen and Saka to replace De Bruyne and Rodgers. Murphy will be on the bench in this case. And in this team, I'd start Raya in goal. I would start Gvardiol, Livramento, Milenkovic, Saka, Mbeumo, Salah, Bowen, Wissa, Evanilson, Cunha. And in the other team, I would have Raya, Kivior, Livramento, and Gvardiol, Saka, Salah, Mbeumo, and Rodgers, and the same front three again, but, well, instead of Evanilson, I have Isak. But it means I still got Cunha, which might be a bit of a, not too great. But yeah, the -4 hit is really popular at the moment. That's crazy. That's interesting. No news on Trent starting, but I think he will. It's his final game. Then again, look at De Bruyne and Man City. Yes, mate, Bernardo, I would take the hit because KDB is benched. You don't need to spam the chat. All right, that is it. We've got literally over a minute left. Saka is my favourite captain PC gamer tag. He is. He's a little bit more risky, though. I think Bowen is the slightly safer pick. Since I'm going potentially differential by selling Isak, what I might end up doing is this. So yeah, I'm going to go here with Rodgers, De Bruyne, and Isak out. Saka, Bowen, Evanilson in. Wait, what? Oh, you're taking the fucking piss. Got to refresh the page. So let's do that again. It's because it wasn't refreshed from yesterday, I think, and the price changes happened. So as always, I'm doing late bloody transfers. Oh my god. All right, Saka, Bowen. Yeah, that looks right. 0.3 million in the bank. Let's lock in. Oh my god, the website was very laggy there. And yeah, that's... Wait, what? My thing is literally lagging now. Yeah, it's not even... I think the website crashed. I left it too late. Oh, okay, it's there. Bro, don't play on my heart like that, big man. Come on. Let's captain Saka and Bowen. Guys. Literally 5 seconds left. Saka Bowen captain. It dip do the cat's got the food. Dog's got the chicken box. Out goes you. Whatever. Saka captain. Let's go. We're done. We're done for the season. Piss off FPL. Don't do that again. Bye bye. See ya. Jagan, let's see what you lot say about that. That was stupid. That's yeah. Don't do late transfers. Yeah, it was really laggy. I actually thought it was my internet because I had some drop frames, but thankfully it went through. Well done. Well done, FPL. Yeah, it looks decent. It looks decent. I was actually gassed when the transfers went through, but then when I saw Salah captain, I'm like, wait, do I actually have time still? And I had 10 seconds left, so I changed it to Saka captain. But yeah, there you go. That's my final team for Gameweek 38. Thank God the season is over. Not just from an FPL perspective, but also, you know, even in terms of football, I just haven't been able to enjoy it. But Ryan goal, Southampton away, Livramento, Gvardiol and Milenkovic, Saka, Bowen, Salah, Mbumo, Visser, Cunha and Ivanilson. I've sold Isak for a hit. He's going to score a bracer hat-trick, isn't he? On the bench, I've got Verbruggen, Murphy, Munoz and Saliba. So that is, yeah, pretty much all that needs to be said. Everything has been covered, top 10 captaincy options, and there you go. Good luck, everyone. Likewise, not going for any Brentford players. I've got a double. Hell no, I could not do that. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but the servers were bad. Something I usually recommend to people is to have the app ready. And yeah, then also have the website on your laptop as well. Unfortunately, accumulated 5 transfers, says Petros. What? You got 5 free transfers now? Surely not. Well, Gordon is facing his former club. He missed a penalty in the reverse fixture earlier this season, but yeah, not my favourite. It would be Isak, who is 4th in my captaincy list, and yet I sold him. Thank you, Omar. Superb as always, Dylan. Thanks a lot and good luck. Likewise, mate. All the best. Bowen captain, Visser captain last game. Good. Yeah, that was a very good captaincy. Yeah, I might have a regret about not captaining Bowen, but at this point, I'll be honest, I really just couldn't care less. I can't wait until this is done. Omar says, I was really tempted to go Roger to Saka for a -4 last second, but I didn't do it. Hope it doesn't come back to bite me. Yeah, and Rogers is another one who could actually do well, to be fair. I mean, if I had the funds, I would have considered selling Murphy instead, keeping Rogers and starting over Cunha, potentially. But I'll stick with this, and we are all locked and loaded for the season. I've already watched a bit of Vinland Saga, the first season, and the first episode of the second season, but I just haven't been able to watch it recently. I've been a bit busy. I've been able to watch Neon Genesis Evangelion, though. I've been watching that, and of course Vinland Saga as well. I finished Monster, another great anime and show. So yeah, a lot of these questions, of course, a bit maybe redundant now since the deadline has passed, but yeah, Saka is my favourite captain, Bowen second, Salah is third. Going for Haaland captain, good luck. He is, what, 7th on my list, I think it is. I would have started Barnes there, Adam. And I did say that before, I think, for someone else, I think. Yeah, cover that as well. Yeah, a lot of these were basically spammed and repeated, but I did cover them as well early in the stream. Ivanilson for Cunha or Isak? Well, ideally it would have been for Cunha, but I didn't have the funds to do that. Why not Captain Salah? Well, because I think Saka and Bowen are better captaincy options. Salah's been poor for months now. But yeah, he'll probably do well against Crystal Palace. Any Arsenal leaks? Nope. And we'll see. If Saka doesn't start, then I'm going to just log off FPL completely. Mbuma to Burn for a -4. Nah, not worth a hit. Not for me. Tosti says wildcard used. Pope, Kirkes, White, Burn, Bowen, KDB, Saka, Salah, Ivanilson, Visser, Isak. I like the look of that. Solid 1-week team. I think for future, though, I'd recommend using the wildcard early in the season because it's a long-term tour. The free hit in 38 is quite underrated, but for the wildcard, I'd always urge you to use it earlier. Rogers to Bowen or Milenkovic to Kirkes. My favourite would have been Rogers to Bowen. Higher ceiling. Thank you, EH Photo Booths. Consort or Botman? I have Burn. Panicking, 5 minutes left. Well, yeah, well, we are locked in, I can't lie. My favourite is Botman. I've gone for a 2-0 Newcastle win and 1-1 in the Aston Villa game. So, yeah. in FPL, the deadline is basically gone unless they had that weird thing where the deadline's still open. That only happened once this season. I'm fairly sure it's not going to happen again. Let me see if I can get it up. Just to confirm. Yeah, the game is updating and will be available soon, so you can't make any transfers now. I basically was able to make transfers in the last minute, but it was quite a tense moment because the website slightly crashed. No, I didn't sell Saliba. I did the first option in the poll, which was selling Rodgers, KDB, and Isak to Bowen, Saka, and Evanussen for a -4 hit. Saliba's on my bench anyway, and I've got Milenkovic. It's not too bad. Cylindra says, took a -4 to sell Saliba and KDB to share and Bowen. Hope it goes well, and I win my mini league. Good luck, Dylan. Likewise. Yeah, good transfers overall. And if it wasn't for, you know, wanting to buy Bowen and Saka, I would have been very happy to keep Isak and sell Saliba instead. If you do not do FIFA Club World Cup fantasy content, will you still play it as fun or waste of time? I will be honest, I think if I play the game, I will make content. If I don't, yeah, so it's either basically I'm fully in and I do the videos, or I just disconnect and take a bit of a break. Thank you, Leonardo. All the best. Same to Chelsea Blues 99. Thank you for the great content. Thank you very much. Are you satisfied with your FPL performance this season? No. Well, what do I want to improve? I think starting the season better, because over the last couple of years, even when I was doing well 2 seasons ago, I just have that period between like game week 3 to 8 where I just have really poor game weeks, and then I have to like basically make up the ground. This season, I think I've ended the season worse. So I had a good period up until game week 34 with like 10 consecutive green arrows, but then it all went south afterwards. Maybe I underestimate how many people saved chips for the last few game weeks of the season, and basically game week 34 was the last time I used the chip. So yeah, I think starting the season better, because I usually do well in game week 1 and 2, and then it's just terrible. So I need to get that sort of period between game week 3 to 8 locked in, because that's something that I can't keep on, doing every season. No more last minute transfers next season. Yeah, I just get into a bad habit of just answering questions and stuff and checking news and seeing if there's any information, and then leaving my transfers until late. But I had a good idea of what I wanted to do, so that kind of helped. What also didn't actually aid me too much is the fact that the website basically said that it wasn't updated, so I had to refresh the page because I basically had it from last night before the price changes, and that means you can't make transfers. So yeah, that also cost me a bit of time. Thank you, Wolverine. August 16th will be the beginning of the Premier League. Yeah, we'll see once the fixtures are confirmed, but I'll be on holiday, I think, until close to that time, so gonna have to see how I get that sorted. Thank you, Punjabi. As he says, like and subscribe. Let's get this to 150 likes. And I'm going to show you my predictions once more. For those that aren't aware, these are the graphics for the scorelines in Game Week 38, what I'm backing to happen. Only Arsenal and Newcastle to keep a clean sheet in Game Week 38, and a few surprise results like Tottenham winning against Brighton. I've also gone for West Ham to win 3-2, and there could be more high-scoring thrillers than I expect. The deadline was faulty 2 times this season. Yeah, and on one of them it was really bad because it went on for like half an hour or something. Can't remember which one it was though. Twister Parky says, Raya, Gavardio, Virgil, Byrne, Murphy, Rodgers, KDB, Mbumo, Isak, Haaland, Visser, Verbruggen, Munoz, Sarr, Saliba on the bench. I got Bowen and Luis Diaz for KDB and Sarr. Isak captain, Bowen vice. Wow. Isak captain, that could be really good. There is World Cup Fantasy. I covered the last one in 2022. So yeah, for next year, if all goes well, the plan is to make World Cup Fantasy content. I also covered the Euros, the last 2 tournaments there as well. FIFA Club World Cup Fantasy has 4 chips and a different point system than UCL Fantasy. Yeah, if I make videos, I'll be covering it. How to play guide, first draft, team selection, maybe even best players in each position. But that's only if I make the content. If people want to see it, I know if people will do, but it has to be a good number, I think. Otherwise, it might be a good time to take a rest and recharge the batteries. So yeah, at the moment, Mina, I'm not really fully decided yet. But if people want to see content, I'll be making it. And of course, as a result, I'll play. Otherwise, I'll just take a break. Bada says, I went full on Nottingham Forest, Gibbs White captain, Pereira. That's man. Well, good luck. And Gibbs White captain is certainly interesting. He has produced some big returns in recent game weeks. We'll see if he can do it again. Josh says, I went for Evanescent captain and then did Eze to Trossard for a -4. If Trossard starts, I think you'll do better than Bowen. Yeah, I could see that happening as well, to be fair. I think Trossard could even outscore Saka. I'm just more convinced about Saka starting. We'll see how that ages as well, but I'm hoping he does. Thank you, Odesma. Hey Dylan, amazing work this season. Your streams and content are always on top. Best of luck to end this season. Hopefully our team gets Gyökeres now. That clearly... sorry, my thing just lagged again. It's the bloody chat. Hopefully our team gets Gyökeres now. That clearly we can see Liverpool getting strong. Yeah, if they sign Wirtz, I think Frimpong's already done, and they're linked to Kirkes. That's some pretty good signings, to be fair. They're having a good transfer window at the moment. I have until 40 past. Ahmad or Nuri. Not a big fan of either, to be fair. Probably Nuri. How to play Club World Cup Fantasy. There is the FIFA app. So just download the FIFA app, the same you would use for the World Cup. And you can also just type in Club World Cup Fantasy, and it's the first result on your search engine. A lot of farewells across the league today. Yes, that is true. Well, my problem is I'm always around 7 to 15k at Christmas, then second half at about 200k, ending up at 30, 50k. Yeah, I mean, still good ranks. You're quite consistent, but I think we all have our slight kind of problems or times of the season where we struggle a little bit. Mine is Gameweek 3 to 8. Thank you, Pockrell, and to Trigger as well. Thanks, Dylan, for the FPL content. First season, 220k approximately. Really well done. Looking forward for next season. Maybe we'll start UCL Fantasy as well. I'd recommend it. You could argue if you're doing badly in FPL and you do badly in UCL Fantasy, it can, put you off fantasy games, but I don't really see it that way, and I usually do much better in UCL Fantasy regardless. Even this season, which is my worst rank at the moment, it's still much better than where I am now in FPL. But it's just fun. It's a lot different. It's like a completely different game. You micromanage a few things, and I've got how to play guide there, and all my videos essentially cover everything you need to know, and you have all the foundation you need for a solid season. For Liverpool, it's Trent's last game. Could also be Darwin's, Kelleher's, and Elliott's last game. Yeah. I think for Arsenal, a few players as well. Jorginho, Tierney, Zinchenko. For Man City, De Bruyne. Yeah, there are quite a few flying around. Isak to Evanescent, and then Munoz to Burn for a -4. Well, the deadline has passed, mate, but yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm guessing that's draft, isn't it? So maybe the deadline's different there. I do like those transfers, to be honest. I'd say, yeah. Just a bit uneasy about selling Isak. I think he will start. Hey, thanks, bro. I think I'll not play next season. We'll take a break. Hope I finish top 20k now. I am in the top 30k. All the best, and you're not the only one to say that. I think Adil, who's just above you in the live chat, he also said something similar. But yeah, I mean, you still got a few months to kind of reflect. Maybe you might feel differently by August, but yeah, I can see why people will feel that way. Gone Nuri over Ahmad. Yeah, I would have agreed with that. Got my FIFA setup, says Gary. Is that a code or something? Or is that a PSN name? Maybe Xbox. Appreciate your help all season, Dylan. Good luck. And as I said, I'm not sure if I'll be playing FPL next season, but I wish you the best and I hope you enjoy your summer. Likewise. But yeah, there could be a reaction stream tonight. I think people have kind of voiced the demands of seeing one. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what time it would be. But yeah, the games are at 4. They'll finish around 6:15. Possibly around 6:30 to 7 p.m. I'm not going to guarantee it, but yeah, if there is a reaction stream, that's the most likely time that you'll see it. Gyökeres left Sporting. Will you like Arsenal to sign him? I'm not sure if he's an Arsenal fan, but yeah, Arsenal need a prolific striker. I think Sesko is probably the more likely one to go Arsenal, but I think Gyökeres is better right now. Sesko has more potential, and of course the dream signing would be Isak, but I don't think he'll leave Newcastle. Zarin says, thank you, Dylan, for excellent content throughout. Come on, you Gunners. Yeah, hopefully next season is much better than this one. And we got a bit more luck on the injury front and suspensions. And also Arteta does slightly better because I think this has been his worst performance as a manager for his time at Arsenal. My captain scored for Charlton, says Twisted Parky. Fair play. The app is just called FIFA. Just type in FIFA as the app. And then you download it and it should be fairly easy to find from there. Twisted Parky 06 says Bournemouth 2, Leicester 0, Fulham 1, City 2, Ipswich 0, West Ham 2, Liverpool 3, Palace 1. Man United 1, Villa 2. Newcastle 2, Everton 0. Forest 2, Chelsea 1. Southampton 0, Arsenal 2. Spurs, Brighton 2-2. Wolves 1, Brentford 2. Yeah, good predictions overall. Similar in a lot of, in terms of like, there might be 1 goal difference in the Brentford game and the Chelsea one. Others, we've got the exact same. Like, I think it's Newcastle for sure. And also Man City. Man United need to chase some money. Garnacho leaves. Who is going to be sold? I don't know. I mean, I've never been a big fan of Garnacho, to be honest. But yeah, United need a huge overhaul. I mean, you could feasibly sell almost the entire squad and just do a complete clear out over the next couple of years. I'll try and join the reaction stream, but not sure I'll be able to. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the bank holiday weekend. Likewise, Adil. I've got a few days off, thankfully, which means I can focus on UCL Fantasy and maybe doing some graphics for Club World Cup Fantasy, if that's what people want to see. I think maybe by the end of today, I'll find out if people, or if enough people want to see it. Take care as well. This won't be my best rank, which I thought was going to happen, but if I get 49 points, it will break my points record. Yeah, the points have been higher this season. It does seem like that. Yeah, I've also felt the same way. FPL Challenge, let me just go to that team one more time. So I've got Raya in goal, Kirkes, Salah, Bowen captain here, and Isak. And if Isak starts, I'll probably just stick with these 5, to be fair. Parade tomorrow, yay. Yeah, enjoy it. Arsenal have one, but it's for the women's, because at least they can win something, the Champions League. I think there's going to be limits on how many people can go, which is a bit shit, to be honest. Easy says, also Man United goes straight to Malaysia after the game, play a friendly in 28th, what is it, on May. 60k tickets sold. Yes. Just a quick turnaround. They're going to just put some youngsters and second-rate players, aren't they? You might notice on my predictions that if they happen and Chelsea win conference, we get Europe. Ah, that is true. Wow, so you actually want Chelsea to win something. That's, wow, how the tables have turned. Mina says, thank you so much, Len, for the great content throughout the season. I don't think I've missed any of your videos or live streams. That's great to hear, and I do appreciate everyone who does tune into every single UCL Fantasy or FPL video, and there will be more for the next week. A best team for Matchday 17, my own team selection, and one more deadline stream next Saturday, and perhaps tonight there could be a reaction for FPL, the last bit of content for this game, shortly after the games have concluded. Victor Gyökeres interview a couple of years ago when he was still in commentary says his dream is to play with Arsenal. Wow, I actually wasn't aware of that. I mean, Arsenal have a lot of, fans, even amongst players, but it doesn't really mean much, because ultimately they'll make the best decision for their career, and Arsenal might not go for him in the end. Breaking the EFL League 2 final, ref battery ran out. Don't they charge it? Well, they are quite incompetent, so it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't, to be fair. There are a lot of lineups to get through. I think they're all out now. Ah, crap. Saka benched, yeah, I'm not surprised. That kind of sums up my season. So, yeah. Kind of wish I ended the stream earlier. But, yeah, now in hindsight, I would have said keep Isak, buy Bowen, and also, Kivior would have been great. Or at least Captain Bowen, but there you go. I'm not too surprised. Let's see. Let's see who starts for Arsenal, though. Is Trossard there? Yeah, Tierney's at left back. Rice is playing as well. Wanyeri, Sterling, and Martinelli. So not even Trossard or... Well, Marino's playing in the midfield. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, here's quite a bit of rotation. So who's really changed? So Tierney, Zinchenko, Wanyeri, Sterling. So that's 4 changes. So yeah, a little bit more than I expected, but not the 5 or 6 that some people talked about. But there you go. It's not my fault. I want Chelsea to win. Palace ruined it. Yeah, I get you, Tistapaki. Champions League only need 2 players to get 11. Yeah, that is true. Whoever's not starting against Villa, potential start in friendly match. Exactly. I don't think anyone who starts against Villa will start in, 3 days' time? But yeah, I can't lie. Going through all the lineups is going to be a bit of a headache. Yeah, especially after that Saka news. That already ruined my week before it even began. But yeah, just going to have to take on the chin. It's been a bad season. Haven't really been able to get much right. And yeah, we move on. Next season will be much better, that's for sure. Drop a like on your way out and also subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. I could see you at the end of today for a reaction stream. Yeah, Califrey might just be injured or they're just saving him. Yeah, it's what I mean. That's why Kivior was my preference, followed up by White. Calafiori has just missed a lot of games, but there you go. Warbeck not in the squad, and no JP. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Saka's not in the starting 11, that's confirmed. Arsenal have made 4 changes. Get 8 million revenue for the friendly match. That is quite a lot, to be honest. That is a lot. But thank you, everyone. It has been a blast, even though the last, 2 minutes have basically killed whatever hopes I had left of this season. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully Saka doesn't get subbed on, and if he does, he somehow gets a massive return. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But yeah, that concludes Gameweek 38. A very mixed bag season, but we live and learn, so to speak, and Gameweek 38 could still be a positive one. Let's see if we can get the green arrows and end this season as strongly as possible. And yeah, there will be more content added your way regardless. UCL Fantasy is going to be the main focus from now on. And after next week, there will be either a little break or Club World Cup Fantasy content. Let your feelings be known in the comment section, in the Discord server, and across all my social media platforms like X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Take care, enjoy the football, get a green arrow, end this season as strongly as possible, and I'll see you very soon for more UCL Fantasy videos.